Good morning and welcome to TableTakes presented by Gen Con. We are here live at the convention. I am Christian. I'm joined today by Bonsai, Derek, and Emma. We've got some special guests and a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get going if we can. How's everybody doing? First good con so far? I mean, the craziness has set in. Has anybody gotten any sleep?
Yep. Not enough, but some.
Some.
You'll have to tell me how that went. I'm not sure I've even laid my head down yet, which is why my hair is still perfect.
Oh, yeah, it is amazing.
So we're going to start off today with a guest. We've got Hawk Robinson with us today.
Morning.
And Hawk is a part of RPG Research and the president of...
So I'm founder of RPG Research, president of RPG Therapeutics.
Nonprofit
and for-profit.
He has been called by many the grandfather of therapeutic gaming, although he doesn't look old enough to be a grandfather.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I'm telling my boys, no hurry.
And you've been working on a new project that we've been talking about it before we even knew you were doing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not doing it. I'm supporting it. I'm an advisor for it. And it's a documentary on role-playing games in prison.
Which, we spoke about this a few weeks ago before we even knew that this project existed.
Oh, okay.
And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's basically I've been, both of us have been very interested on how RPGs affect people from different backgrounds and also how it betters people to take them out of their situation and then apply it to a fictional person that they can learn to improve from. And also it's just it's a nice escape. It's almost a meditative kind of thing.
And it was funny because the conversation actually was I think it came up in a news article we were sharing because we try to figure out what to cover each week.
Yes.
In our weekly show. So
we're here every week.
Oh, every week, by the way.
Not at Gen Con.
Not at Gen Con.
We were we should cover this, and both Bonsai and Christian were really excited about the topic. So they're gonna go into research, and we're why don't you spend some time figuring that out? Next week he comes back, he's like, all right, so I think I have an in. I think I have a connection that might give us some.
I love being able to be the guy sometimes who goes, I know a guy.
I know a guy,
I know a guy. Anything you need, I got a guy.
Yes.
So it's funny because the reason that I became initially interested in this kind of research is because of meeting you years ago. Back in 2009, and
right, you were,
I was a guest at SpoCon, I think, and that's where I met you, right?
Well, and you guys were doing also. Maybe that was later. You and Scott were at some coffee shop doing riffing and stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember I played an acoustic set at that one.
Yes, but I think it was because of SpoCon or something like that.
Yeah. And anyway, I've been interested in that in therapy, gaming therapy ever since, and I thought, prison. Being near and dear to my heart for no good reason.
Well, prison has a
clear.
Clear,
you want to share about that as far as your
therapy
personal connection to this as well, and I'll share a little bit about mine as well.
How
much do you want to share?
Well, my father did some time in prison when I was younger, until I was older. So he was there for a long time, and there was a group there that kept getting in trouble.
Oh, really?
Because they
were trying to game.
Because they were trying to game.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's been banned since the 80s in most prisons. They were loosening up, and then in 2011 there was an appeals court ruling that said superintendents can arbitrarily ban anything without having to prove cause. They can just feel that there's a security threat. They don't have to prove it. And so since that 2011 ruling, I think it was in Michigan, you've seen a tightening again. At one point, Washington State was banning all books, not gaming books, all books. Then that got overturned.
All books.
It goes back and forth. Because it's so arbitrary, you get these. It's really inconsistent across the country. It was one thing if it was consistent, but it's all over the place.
The U.S. is not really about consistency.
Well, that's okay. That's the state system.
He was also talking about the two different types of prisons when you're kind of pitching this idea to them.
A spectrum from those who actually have a rehabilitative interest that they're expecting they're going to go. If they're not lifers, they're going to go back into society. And if we're going to do that, most of us who care about rehabilitation, I'm a Washington State registered recreation therapist with a background in music therapy, neuroscience, and research psychology. And then I've been gaming since '77.
Also, he does computers.
Yeah.
And I have a computer science background. I was able to semi-retire back in '03 because I did the SiliconValley.com thing.
Oh, wow.
So
that's a lot of backgrounds.
Yeah, that's what I say. Keep your rein.
I'm pretty sure character creation doesn't allow you to take that many backgrounds. So
you have too many
you
groups.
may have
You
broken.
specialize.
Well, he specifically leveled those backgrounds. That's not he just multi-classed when he leveled up.
I go intense. I go deep, and I don't sleep, and I get a lot.
He's not like a focused, optimized character, but he can do a bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, some areas, but yeah. So anyway, the spectra from rehab to just purely punitive. So different prisons are in different areas on that spectrum. And the rehabilitative ones are pretty open to having different programs that will help prepare inmates to go back out into the world, have the social skills, the coping mechanisms, the job transitions, the housing transitions. There's so many things that once you're locked up for any period of time, your outside world falls apart. And you, with a few rare exceptions, when you do get out, whether it's parole or you did your time, you know, it's like Blues Brothers. There was one person there to pick them up. If there's nobody there to pick you up, you may not even have money for a bus ride home, right? And you could be in the middle. A lot of prisons are put because nobody wants in their backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right out in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere,
unincorporated
and you're trying to
something
hitchhike,
county.
and you could reoffend just for hitchhiking, right?
Yeah.
So you can end up starting with nothing. And now the rehabilitative ones try to offer resources to help with that transition, because if you don't, the recidivism rate is almost 100%.
And that's what I wanted to talk about specifically, was the recidivism rate.
Back in, yeah.
Yeah, how are RPGs affecting that?
So role-playing games themselves, the research is light. And again, RPG Research is a 501c3 nonprofit volunteer run. We have over 70 volunteers spanning 5 continents now.
Okay.
We had 7 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I've been doing research since '83, running programs in schools since '85, and in therapeutic settings since 2004. And then I was always partnering with different organizations. But then when we got our 501c3 a few years ago, that's when we started to actually bring in long-term volunteers. And the research on actual role-playing games in prison specifically is very little, except for related to this documentary where it's, you know, a lot of case studies and such, but as far as aggregate data. However, so you have to look at the broader, what's close to it. They call them creative programs. And creative programs can include acting, improv, all kinds of theater types, the Shakespearean, Greek.
I've actually gone and taught theater classes at prisons in the past.
Right, and you know, my now new brother-in-law, Joe Coonan, runs the classes for Jet City Improv in Seattle.
Okay.
And then he's on one of our shows too, as a character and stuff. But so they run them too, right? They're 501c3 and they run improv classes.
Everybody's a streamer now.
Everybody's trying
Work
to
us
get
out
in.
of a
Well,
job.
they're mostly just at the Jet City Improv, but he's on one of our shows. So.
Yeah.
We love those guys at Jet City.
Seattle's just a mecca.
Joe's awesome, and he officiated for the wedding too.
All right.
He helped marry his sister and I.
You were stating that you have a personal reason why you are like basically backing and promoting this
Yeah.
documentary.
So we work a lot with, because we do 5 days a week research, 2 days a week community programs, and we work a lot with at-risk youth, incarcerated populations for mental health and other things, transition programs, alternative schools. We literally drive a wheelchair-accessible bus and trailer gaming rooms to parks.
Oh, I've seen the trailer.
And
It's
street
awesome.
corners and say, come on in and learn how to play games. And, you know, at-risk youth means they're at risk of not finishing school, becoming homeless, and or ending up in prison as adults.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can be an at-risk adult too. You can be 30. So for example, middle-aged white males are extremely high risk for all those things happening as well if certain demographics information happens. And there's actually less support infrastructure because it's the majority, right? So that does have the support structure. So they actually end up with a very high risk of ending up in prison and such. So, and homelessness and such. So I had an abusive father, very abusive, and he was friends with the sheriff and everything, so nothing ever happened there. He was actually a psychologist and everything, hypnotherapist, did a lot of interesting things, but was very abusive, through windows and walls and stuff like that. So there was an abusive background. My mom divorced him, got me away from that eventually when I was older. But a lot of, you know, that first 7 years are fundamental years. So that set the stage for certain things. And then ADHD and some LDs, et cetera. So I would definitely qualify by today's language, this is back in the 70s, as at-risk youth. And really did struggle. I really started getting in fights all the time. I never threw the first punch, but I've been training martial arts since I was 4.
Also, you're 6'8".
I'm now 6'8",
Yeah.
but I was a little kid. I was second grade, 6th graders were fighting me. And so it was bad. I went to Utah, I was the only non-Mormon in the whole school, so the minority thing, it was bad. I was in so many fights a year. And so lots and lots of that going on. And then as a teenager, started to manifest signs of bipolar and such, not knowing that.
Right.
And so
Right.
getting more and more impulsive, not sleeping for days at a time, then just crash, and then so all these things were happening. And what I did notice in hindsight is when I was gaming with my friends and such, and I was gaming quite a bit, things were going quite well. It provided some structure, it provided I am a very hyperactive, high-energy person.
I've met you,
constantly getting things done. It gave a great resource for my energy. And I naturally didn't need to sleep much anyway. And when everybody else is asleep, you got to go do something. What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And if there wasn't gaming and other things and hobbies and such, then it could lead to trouble. I did get in a lot of trouble for basically, stealing cars and getting police chases and stuff like that. No violent crime or anything, but it was bad. And eventually, after half a dozen times in and out of jail, getting therapeutic help, getting diagnosis, et cetera, started to turn that around in my early 20s. But everybody there in the probation system, et cetera, and I was looking at 17 years before parole if I ended up in prison. I was hovering right on that brink. At one of the points, we were a whole bunch of people were brought in a raid, like hundreds of people, and they overpopulated the jail cell. They got in a lot of trouble with the civil rights unions after this, but that came later. And there were 32 of us packed into a 16-man cell in quarantine. And the place was locked down because just before a black gang and Hispanic gang had just had a fight, stabbed each other with the broom and dustpan and such. So all of the cells were in lockdown. You couldn't have phones, television, books, commissary, anything. And everything was double capacity. People were sleeping on the cement floors. Only a few had cots on the floors. I came in and, asserted my alphaness, and somebody gave me their bunk without me having to ask. So I was okay because I was a tall guy. I wasn't a jerk about it, but you got to set it. But everybody was on edge. You had heroin addicts going through withdrawal, not getting their medication. It was bad. It was a powder keg waiting to go off. And at the time, gaming was going on. I hadn't been gaming for a little while, but I said, we got to do something. So I was given a little yellow Post-it with a pencil, and I said, anybody want to do a role-playing game? And they're like, what's that? I don't know what that is.
You're going to sell with like 30 dudes, and you're like, hey, want to play? Anybody want an RPG?
Yeah,
RPG.
no, that's literally what happened,
like
because
a
people were
huge
losing
game.
it. What's that?
That's a big party.
Huge game. That's a huge game if it's like 30 people playing.
Well, I wasn't going to do all. Yeah, I said
Okay.
we can do different groups. I need to pick 6 or 8 that are interested, and they were all hesitant. They're like, "What is this? I don't know. What are you talking about?" But I got the one guy everybody called Chief, who was Native American Navajo, somebody from Vietnam, somebody. So it was really multi-ethnic.
Yeah.
And we gathered around, and I made pick lists. So you pick a number, you blind. Just pick. That was how we did our randomization on 1 to 100, and it was Middle Earth role playing, which is a fairly simple, logical, that people get percentages. And we did very simple character sheets. Just whip them up on there, do the pick list to make your stats. It took about 15 minutes to do a light version of MERP. And so we're playing, and these guys are calming down, and just they're focusing on that, and they're learning to work together, and all the rest of the cell is starting to listen and to watch and to gather. I don't know what else you can do.
What else you can do?
It's also hard to ignore a game when it's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to keep it down, but because there are some people trying to sleep and stuff. But and then we want to take a break. I'm like, no, man, please don't stop. This is the only reason I'm coping, because he was going through heroin withdrawal and everything. And so I just switched to another group, and and so for half a week, I think it was, we were in lockdown. We just kept doing that, and our cell was the only one that didn't blow up during that time. Again, there were a lot of lawsuits after. So that was the most extreme personal connection to that.
Yeah.
In addition to now, so over the years, I finished my probation. They always said, once a crook, always a crook. Once in the system, you never get out.
Right.
That's mostly true, unfortunately. Without a lot of resources and some luck and a lot of determination, because once I was out on probation, nobody would hire me, right? So how do you pay the fines? I had huge fines. And so I was working at 7-Eleven. I worked every shift I could. I was homeless 3 times, literally in a tent on the mountainside in the winter. And, but somehow pulled it off. And it was the first time, because I flunked 8th grade, dropped out of high school, did my GED, et cetera. It was the first time I was able to achieve a long-term goal. So I had 7 years to pay the fines. I did it in 4 years and 2 months. It was like 50 grand in fines.
Congrats for doing it in 4 years.
What's that?
Congrats for doing it in 4 years versus the 7.
Yeah, well, I figured the longer it was, the greater the risk of something going wrong. And so I just did the best I could, and it was the first time I learned what later I learned is the concept to begin with the end in mind, where you set a long-term goal, and then every choice you make along the way is towards that goal. Well, role-playing gaming represents it all the time when you set up your quests and such. You're generally, once you set up the seed, you're beginning the end in mind. Now, what do we do as a group to find the way? We don't know all the details between.
I'm sorry, I feel like a whole lot of gaming groups that I have run for could use that talk before we sit down at the table.
Well, that's all about Tuckman's theory of group dynamics: forming, storming, norming, and performing.
Oh.
And so most groups are
Yeah,
stuck.
I told you we could get a few minutes out of this guy.
Yeah. Most groups are stuck in forming and storming and have a lot of trouble getting to the norming and performing. So forming is you come together, you've never met before, no prior history, no grudges, and everybody's usually more polite. It depends, but generally more polite.
Eyebrows.
Me?
No, not you. I'm talking about the groups you're talking about.
He's probably talking about me.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I feel extremely seen.
But generally people try to be on their better behavior at first when they come together. Then at a certain point, as the task is not getting done, tempers start to build, and people start, fine, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. No, and you start to, and everybody then is trying to figure out who's going to do what. People are not necessarily as nice, but you try to get through it. Eventually, if all goes well, you'll get to the norming stage where everybody has their role. But you have to spell it out. Everything is like, okay, George, you're get ready for the door, and you get ready to back me up with your magic missile and with your bow and arrow. I'm going to stealth over here and take care of the trap, and you have to verbalize it and coordinate it. But now you've got a pretty effective group at the norming phase. The performing phase is where that all just becomes automatic. And then that's the best opportunities for flow state. Now you can have flow state along any of these, and you showed it in Darkness Rising, where you guys are playing, they look up, it's 2 a.m., and they're like, wow, I had no idea that much time went by. That's an indicator of flow state when that happens, and anybody who's gamed for any amount of time has had that experience. And all of these things, it's not, so a lot of people are like, well, prisoners shouldn't have a good time. Right now we're to the punitive side instead of rehab. So we're talking about developing social skills, impulse control, developing a network, a real social network through gaming and such, an alternative to gang and violent groups when you get discharged. We've worked with groups of large mental health facility on the West Coast. They have kids who are put in because of drugs or gang violence, and then they usually have a mental health diagnosis. And we help them with a transition plan. We introduce them to a gaming group in town. They get a day pass on an escort, join the group if they want to. It's always challenged by choice. And now they've got a new peer group that they're building a relationship with before they're even discharged. And that gives them something else to do. Now, they might go a little obsessive about it at first, looking over all the rules and everything, but where do you want them putting their energy?
Well, but also, how many of us don't go obsessive when we first get into either a hobby or a game?
You'd be surprised how few do. Now, one of the things that I've always, this is weird, as much as I've been involved with gaming since '77, I don't really feel that I'm a part of the gaming bubble.
Okay.
I've always felt like I'm looking at it from the outside, even when I was in it. Like our vice president, he's well connected with all the community and has always been very part of it. I went through a whole closet gaming period for a decade, professionally. I had to, because I would hear, so here I was back in the 90s homeless. By 98 or 99, I was CIO, and by 2000, CTO, Chief Technology Officer for companies. I was working with Fortune 500 companies, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Microsoft, IBM. I was at board meetings with them.
Yes.
And so you're not talking about D&D during those board meetings?
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now that makes
Because
sense.
I overheard, because of the stigma of the 80s, people who lost getting raises or promotions because they found out they were gamers.
What?
Oh.
Because of the
That's
80s
real.
stigma.
That was the 80s.
This is real.
Remember, everybody
it's
was like,
still,
devil,
it's
devil.
still out
Between
there.
the satanic panic and it just being considered nerdy after
Yeah.
a while.
It's better than it used to be with Big Bang Theory, etc. But they're still mocking gamers, even in
Yeah,
that.
there's still.
Yeah.
It's still there. Because we take the bus and trailer, and I've got RPG as my license plate now, so I'm no longer in the closet about gaming. That's obvious.
Pretty out there, yeah.
Yeah, but a good 10 years though.
Did you have D20 on your collar pin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah,
meatballs.
and Dots RPG for the Braille
Yeah.
dice, etc. Yeah, no, definitely. I'm out here. But I don't think my career would have been successful if I had told people about one of my favorite pastimes. It's just that's the way it was. Now, less of an issue, and yet the majority of people are not gamers. Sorry, guys.
It's true.
That's the way it is. And so everybody's in this bubble. We are kind of preaching to the choir and don't realize. So we go out on the street, we go to libraries and stuff, and we literally have parents drag their kids away from the door who want to come play, saying we don't play those kinds of activities. Those kinds of people kill people.
What?
That just happened in March. Okay, well, I've documented it. It's all on our website and everything on RPG Research. There was a survey done just a few years ago of social workers. Okay, these are the people who control what services are given to people, all ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 60 to 80% of them responded that they believed gamers were psychopaths, that they had high levels of psychopathology.
Oh.
That's 60 to 80% of surveyed social workers.
Have you-
So there's still a stigma out there. I've gotten
Yeah.
a grief for bringing this up. Why do you bring up the past? It's not the past.
It's not the past, right.
No.
And so every time we do a presentation for a facility and such, we start out the history of role-playing gaming, shooting down the myths with all the research that disproves all of it. And that's what started with the research of, oh, suicide rate of gamers is like 1/5 to 1/10 that of non-gamers. The meaninglessness levels of college students is like 47%, only 17% for gamers of the same peer group. And meaninglessness means you have some direction and some purpose and some connection when you're more likely to succeed in life. Psychopathology is higher in non-gamers than in gamers. The exact opposite around the way. And
he's got the science to prove that.
So this is the little bit of research that is out there disproving the negatives.
There are certainly some gamers online who are doing their best to live up to those stereotypes.
Yeah, they're individuals.
Yeah,
We're
they're
talking
individuals.
statistically
but
low.
like
they're loud
They're
individuals.
loud
The vocal
individuals.
minority can be very vocal.
People like individuals and they like examples more than they like statistics.
Yes.
I know. Yeah. Well, so as far as so I have a gazillion anecdotes for any particular population, just about you can name between ages 2 to 90 plus years old.
So do you have any research that shows like the recidivism rate falling because of
Right. So sorry. Thanks. See, I'll be back in.
I'm bringing it back.
That's
Bringing it
right,
back
thank
around,
you.
bud.
So creative programs, different states have run their own research to see if these programs were worth it. And they found, depending on the state and the program, anywhere from 20 up to 80% reduction in recidivism. So recidivism is that you get discharged, either on parole, probation, or you've done your time. Within 18 to 36 months, most, especially if they've had multiple convictions that led to prison, will reoffend. They will be back in the system one way or another. That's just statistically, that's just the way it is. Once you're in the, and that's what I say, once in the system, never out of the system. Most of the people I know from my late teens, early 20s are dead or lifers because they went in so many times that 3 strikes.
3 strikes, you're out,
like
right?
That, yeah. I was one of the few. I know one other who got out of the system, but he's shattered. He became so institutionalized. He did go to prison and was beaten badly, ribs sticking out, things like that. We picked him up from the prison and such, and took years to even get back to some functional level and such. And he's still just half the person he used to be, and he was a dear friend. So that needs to change.
Yeah.
And there isn't enough awareness. Now, I do agree we need prisons. I am okay that there's a punitive part. That was my wake-up call. The first time I was sitting in a holding cell, and then I needed a few more 2x4s to the head, obviously, because I was in and out 6 times. One time, truly, I didn't do anything wrong. I went in to pay a fine. They had a warrant. It was somebody else, but it had the same name. The guy had killed cop and shot an FBI agent.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And they hauled me off, and I'm like, I swear I didn't do it. Yeah. We always do
I've
that.
never even been to Tucson.
That is what you would say.
Exactly. I mean, what else are you going to say? You never admit, right? So, but there was one of those times that truly wasn't my fault. The other 5 times, okay.
Yeah.
I own that. But I was sitting there. I had a major white knight complex because I'm with my dad and everything. I'd always been.
Right.
I was the guy who fought the gangs. Whenever I saw somebody being picked on, I'd go intercede because of my martial arts background. So I had a real white knight complex. And then I'm sitting in jail because I'd just gotten in a chase for stealing gas and stuff. And what the heck am I doing? This isn't the person I want to. What's going on? And so that was the first thing in it. But it took a little bit to fully sink in and overcome that. Now I'm father of 3 adult boys. I've been successful in multiple careers, and now I've got 5 little companies.
You've got a nonprofit organization that's been in business
501c3
for a very, very long
nonprofit.
time.
And so I'm giving back to society, right? I did turn it around.
So tell me about the Kickstarter.
Yes, so there's this wonderful Kickstarter, which is not my Kickstarter, just to be clear, because some people had that confusion.
Right.
But obviously there's a personal connection. So this is Elizabeth DeClear's project. She is a documentarian of 10 plus years. She's done a few small bits that we've seen on YouTube and Vice and elsewhere on inmates and convicts and such in role-playing gaming, and they've been very popular. I've seen them doing the rounds.
I've seen them on Vice.
Yeah, that's all her.
Nice, okay.
So that's the same person.
Excellent.
And so I set up a quick website for them, rpgdoc.com or rpgdocumentary.com. Either one goes the same thing because the Kickstarter is too long to tell people to find it. So you go there and it links to the Kickstarter. So she's been following these prisoners for years and aggregating all of this, and she shot a lot of this film already.
Right.
And this is in California, a lot of the legal battles there. She's in San Francisco. This spans different parts of California. and she hits on different parts around the country, but she specifically has many interviews with these guys. They're now out, you know, but it covers the legal battles, all kinds of interesting challenges. It just wakes everybody up to what the process is, and these are human beings.
Yes.
A lot of people want to go, they're no longer humans, they don't deserve the right to be considered that way.
So since a lot of it's been shot, is the Kickstarter mostly covering post and distribution?
Yeah, so there's still follow-up interviews, some legal stuff, things like that, and then all the post-production. So it's just so she can finish it.
And what's the goal on that Kickstarter?
60,000.
60,000. And you've got another week to go on?
We've got 12 days left,
12
and
days.
we're about
12
just under 22,000. We've been kind of stuck there this last day.
Oh,
Well, let's hope you get a bump. This is a really
Yeah.
important subject. If you
Yeah.
have time out there, you know, take a look at the Kickstarter at the very least. And
Yeah, RPGdocumentary.com will get you there very easily.
very cool.
Yeah.
Before you go, I'd really like to talk a bit about, because you're part of so many different groups and helping, you know, anybody who's involved in therapeutic
Yeah.
gaming, you're always giving them a
All
shout
these
out.
different projects, yeah.
All these.
Yeah, by the way, if you're here at the con, Hawk is actually
Booth 100
the
with
Booth
Zombie Orpheus
100 with
Entertainment.
Zombie
100.
Orpheus Entertainment. He's
Thank
got
you,
I know that
Ben.
might be a tough number to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first booth, guys.
Number one.
Number one. We've had that for years.
Thanks to Ben Dobbins, Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, Chris Ode, and yourself for being so kind to give us that space. So last week, we only found out Thursday we were coming to Gen Con.
Well, we only found out a few days ago that we had guests at our booth before, and they weren't going to be able to
Right.
make it this
Yeah,
year.
no, it worked
By
out.
the way, Larry and Mercedes, I'm sorry you couldn't be here. I miss you terribly. But we were really glad to
Yeah.
have you and give you the
And
opportunity
we
to
drove
do that.
2,000 miles Monday through Wednesday straight through to get here.
Yep. Stop for
Spokane.
3 hours,
Dedication.
take 3-hour breaks here and there, and eat snacks the whole way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gaming
Yeah.
convoy.
Yeah.
And then he tried to help us set up the booth.
Oh.
That's like,
Yep.
See, so you guys can tell this guy's good guy.
he's good people, and he supports good causes. I want Dots RPG. Tell me about
Yeah,
that.
so Dots RPG, wearing the label here proudly. If you come to the booth, you can see examples. They make Braille dice and other accessibility equipment for gaming. Because we're big
nice.
accessibility advocates. So we drive
Right.
around with this bus and trailer. I just did an 8-state, 26-day tour in the fall, taking the RPG bus and the RPG trailer all around the Western United States, trying to raise awareness about accessibility and inclusiveness in gaming. And it's very visible. The bus has got artwork of gamers all over it in the back of the trailer. 26-foot trailer toy hauler with a ramp, so we can get about 3 wheelchairs into it. And then a 22-foot bus with a wheelchair lift, so we can get about 1 or 2 wheelchairs into that, and comfortable with couches and all that for others. And we have the Braille dice, we have dice towers, we have special pen holders because we work with muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, etc. All sorts of accessibility equipment so that as many people as possible can get the benefits that research shows are found from role-playing games, from the social skills, problem solving, turn taking, impulse control. The list goes on and on and on. Empathy. Empathy is a huge one. That's one of the biggest ones we need for prisons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't quite finish, 20 to 80% reduction. Now the federal government's offering upwards of $20 million for prisons to bring in more of these creative programs.
Note that a 20 to 80% reduction in
in
recidivism.
recidivism. And they're putting money out there and the prisons aren't taking it.
It's worth the money for the 20, let alone the 80.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Any amount. Yeah.
Yeah, any
exactly.
amount.
Exactly.
You know,
and these are not expensive to do.
No.
Yeah. Role-playing
not.
gaming is not an expensive. Tabletop role-playing is not expensive. investment.
No, it's not.
Other
Well,
ones can
it's
be.
an expensive hobby if you like to buy.
You
it.
can-
Well, you got
can
books.
make
Yes.
If
Yeah.
But all you
figurines.
need-
There's a big difference between being an expensive hobby
Yes.
and being a hobby that allows you to be as expensive as you
Yes.
want.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
You
Dice
don't,
and
No
you,
upper
don't,
limit.
you don't need the mammoth bone dice.
Creative
They're just
outlet.
there for you
But-
if you want them.
But I do need
But I
them.
do need mammoth bone dice.
Do you have those? Because we want to buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have them?
Yeah, there's mammoth bone dice in there.
Oh.
Like, did you guys
Well, I know
not?
what
Did you
we're
guys
getting
not?
at.
Yeah, I
know
know.
I'm going to get me some mammoth.
Mammoth dice.
So,
So Dots RPG is going to be at PAX West. She couldn't make it here. Jess Dempsey is the president of that.
we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
There.
We're Gen Con. We don't know what that is.
And so I'm by proxy representing, and they recently brought me on their board, and I helped them form their 501c3, which finally, there were a lot of hassles in Delaware, but we finally
So
got
you're
it done.
out here on your own dime.
Yes.
Helping out another company out of the kindness of your heart.
Several, yes.
Several, yes.
Yes.
Several.
In addition to running your own business. So that's amazing.
a
I
lot.
could easily talk to you for another hour about this, but
Yeah, we got.
but we
Yeah.
do have a show to get
Yes,
through.
yes.
This has been Hawk Robinson. You can check
Yes.
him out at RPG Research.
.com,
.com.
but most
If-
importantly, go to RPGdocumentary.com.
And RPG,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
But if you're interested in volunteering or finding out more about therapeutic gaming, this is absolutely the guy to talk to.
And we didn't even
Yeah,
talk about
yes.
RPG professionals, where we
Oh.
pay
Oh.
game masters 20 to 60 an hour. but it's really difficult to
So
qualify.
check out these
I'll
websites.
just take a look at it.
Don't worry,
Fight
we've
over
got more.
brochure.
But it's very, very
You
difficult
are
to qualify.
Seattle area, right?
Yes.
Spokane, which
Well,
is
that's
about
like Eastern
6
Washington.
hours east of Seattle.
Well, if you're
Well,
driving
you're in the
slow.
Washington
Bars.
state, so.
We'll permit you to come on the show maybe another time.
Yeah,
We would
right,
actually
we'd
love
to
that.
have
Yeah,
you.
I
Yeah,
would,
you
I
come
would
over there all
love.
the time.
Yeah, because like we said, this is like something that we're like when we are actually doing those talks. Would you mind being a guest? That would be awesome.
Would you
I'm here.
mind?
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Your martial arts training should have prevented that, Hawk.
We should
Yeah, if I want to.
Yeah, he's using our own energy against us.
That's right. It's like
master
Keynote,
of
yes,
chi.
that's beautiful.
In my
Yes.
mind.
Excellent.
All right, Hawk.
well,
Well, that's
thank
all
you
the time
so
we got
much.
for you today. But thank you so
Thank
much
you
for coming
so
on the show and
much.
talking to us. I feel like I know more than when I started today.
Yeah.
Good. Good. That's
Maybe
always
that's
the
just
goal.
my brain cells reactivating after last night's activities.
Yeah.
I don't know. But thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the booth later, bud. He's over at
Remember,
booth 100. Check him
100.
out if you're here at the con.
Yep.
Yeah. Up
Yeah.
next.
We've got more guests. I
More
know
guests.
More
this is my
guests.
favorite part about doing stuff at the convention
No,
is that we
have
get to
them
have
come up
guests.
here.
And I think this is great.
Everyone's
Oh.
here.
So I'd like to welcome Chris Rollins and Lindsay Takuda from Funko Games.
Funko.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Join us.
Have a seat. Let's talk.
So it is a big Gen Con for Funko Games.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
It's also
Very
the
exciting.
first Gen Con for Funko Games,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
Yep.
So technically, it's the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The biggest,
ever.
the best, the first, the most,
The mostest.
Yeah.
superlatives.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
So,
So, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about the game. Quick overview of Funko Verse, and any intros you'd like to give for this lovely new product.
Sure. So Lindsay and I are with Funko Games. I'm a game designer there. I was the lead game designer on Funko Verse.
Funkoverse.
Lindsay was the rockstar producer on the project, so she helped keep us on task and get everything situated. But Funko Verse is the first game from Funko Games. Our studio has made a ton of games. Previously, we went by the sort of moniker as Prospero Hall, so we did Disney Villainous, Horrified, Jaws, which are here at Gen Con this year. So we have a long history of making games based on IPs. And so Funko came to us and they're like, well, we want to make a game as well. So we started working with them on Funko Verse, and then we found out that our companies are really aligned in our values. And so they're like, well, we want to start a game studio. How about we just acquire your company and you can be our game studio? And so that was what we did, and it's been a blast ever since. So Funko Verse is the first game of Funko Games. We're actually publishing it ourselves, and it is a miniatures strategy game using these adorable pop figures. We wanted to kind of pay
Can
homage
confirm.
to the fans of Funko. Really, we wanted to make a love letter to the fanatics, as they're called.
I think if you didn't, they probably would have
Yeah,
revolted.
they would have
Absolutely.
Like if the first game that Funko puts out doesn't have the cute little big-headed dudes,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a
well,
problem.
what I
Had to
also
have the
love is
pops.
when you came to show us the game at Gen Con, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if your game was this? And you're like, it is, here it is. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, cool, good job,
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah, it wasn't like the highest hanging fruit, So,
Yeah.
so what we did was we wanted to pay homage to the Funko fanatics, and so we include these pops in the game. But it was really important to us that our first game out of the gate was a strategic game with a lot of depth.
Yeah.
We want to let people to know right away, like these aren't just IPs that we're slapping on games. These are labors of love from the studio as well. And so we created sort of this miniature strategy game system. There are 6 games in the system. There's 2 Harry Potter games, 2 DC Comics games that are sort of set in the Gotham part of DC Comics.
Oh, nice.
And then we have a Rick and Morty and a Golden Girls game.
Golden
as well.
Girls.
Wait, oh yeah, Golden Girls.
That's the one I'm excited about.
I
Golden
have
Girls.
to say, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Of all of those IPs, the one I've been hearing the most buzz about is
Yeah.
the Golden Girls.
Well,
Yeah.
Very unexpected.
No,
Yeah.
With that IP list, you're like, yep, yep.
And-
Golden Girls.
Chris, you were saying like that you put a lot of love into it, and it's not just an IP getting slapped on, but like your history with game design, you've used IPs in the past, and they've all shown that love.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, that's part of why your games are great.
Yeah, I think I only work at our studio, so I can't speak to other studios, but I know for us, we're working on some of the most beloved IPs. When you talk about Jaws, you talk about Horrified, which we published with our partner Ravensburger. These IPs are beloved, and we're true fans of these properties, and so we're trying to create the games as gamers that we'd want to play based on those properties.
Yeah, and judging by your past games, that has shown over and over again. That's why you're perfect for that job, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just award-winning titles of the things that you've had coming out.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking like I grabbed the press releases from the press room, and you guys are behind like all the big releases from Ravensburger this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lizzie can speak to our relationship with Ravensburger over the years, because she's been a producer at FPC for a longer time than I have.
Yeah, I mean, well, this year we have obviously big ones: Villainous, Jaws, Horrified.
Oh, yeah, Villainous.
The new Villainous one is
Yeah,
just
sorry.
amazing. But yeah, so we've been working with Ravensburger for about 13 years or something
wow.
like that,
Oh,
because
wow.
before they were Ravensburger, they were the Wonder Forge. And so Ravensburger acquired Wonder Forge. I maybe think it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know the exact date. Sorry.
Yeah.
In the past.
In the past. So yeah, but we have been partners with them, and we have been working with them closely for a very long time. And so they were able to get these incredible licenses. They came to us, and we said yes, and you know, we do what we do. We put all the love and devotion into every single game that we make.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Working with an IP and encapsulating the feeling of that IP, and also for a lot of people who love that IP aren't necessarily gamers, so like matching those audiences and still developing something that a gamer would look at and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And every licensor that we work with has been wonderful. And not everybody comes from a gamer background, and so we, you know, bring them into the fold, and we
Yes.
talk to them about games and our love and our passion for them, and then they were like, oh yeah, we have to do this, we have to work together. And then, you know, we surprise them with our depth and knowledge. You know, when we talk about working on a Harry Potter property, you know, these ones are based off the films, so you know, maybe I've seen Harry Potter about 800 times. I mean, I really
What house
love-
are you?
Huh?
What
I'm
house?
a Slytherin.
Me
I'm
too.
a
All
Slytherin, yeah.
right.
We're like all Slytherins up here.
Slytherin. I've got my Slytherin.
Excuse me,
sweaters,
Hufflepuff
you know.
representing here.
And I even took the when Pottermore came out with like, you know, what house are you in like the America school? I even came out with like the Horned Serpent one. So I was like, yeah, so I'm really a Slytherin.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it
well, I
doesn't
mean-
matter
Yeah.
which way I go.
The Slytherin here, we got to keep at least one Hufflepuff around to be the fall guy for whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I'm always the weird kid. Gosh darn it.
It's okay. But so, you know, we obviously bring a lot of love into the licenses, and we get to know these characters very intimately. And then so working with the licensors, it's really great because they recognize that love, and so they're there 100% to support us and to also bring in their knowledge and love for the license as well. So
Yeah, and from a game design perspective, I mean, we start every project with like, you know, really absorbing what we're working on and saying like, what are the elements of this that we really want to translate? Because we're making an adaptation of a medium, and it's not always easy to do that. And so for us, we always try to highlight like the really key elements of that. And sometimes you get something like Lindsay and I were working together as a designer and producer on Jurassic Park Danger for Ravensburger. And so that was something where I was like, you know, I want to create this game where you're telling the story again. Because really what's important about Jurassic Park to me is this idea of what would you do if you were on the island, you know? But when you look at something like Jaws, which we did this year, it's a little bit more true to the actual narrative of the film and hits those beats, and it's like 2 acts and all those things. And so when we're getting into the Funko Verse, you know, we're trying to create one universal system that we can apply, all of these characters can live within. And so, you know, you have one system that works for Golden Girls, that works for you know, Batman, that works for Harry Potter, that works for Rick and Morty. And so really we're trying to distill these characters down into their essence, because every single character feels unique. And, you know, the Golden Girls, you know, as far as their powers and abilities go, are just as interesting, if not more interesting, in my opinion, than some of the Batman characters or some of the Harry Potter
So
characters.
OP is what you're saying.
They're very overpowered.
They're
Absolutely.
very OP.
I want to play them so
Yeah.
bad.
What are some
very
of the names of the abilities on them? There's like
So Blanche.
hi, boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Blanche brings all of her sass to the Funko Verse.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was important to us. I mean, the Golden Girls thing, and you know, you guys talk about it being from left field. That was really important to telling the story of Funko Verse, because Funko's motto is everybody's a fan of something. And so we wanted to come out with this first slate of our miniatures game, and we wanted to have at least one license in there that proved to people that anything is possible.
Yeah.
It was
And
master
so-
stroke as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and so that's what Golden Girls is there for. But at the same time, I was like, well, it'd be hilarious if people went to tournaments and all these hardcore tournament players had to play Golden Girls. And so we gave them a lot of love and made sure that, you know, those characters fit a niche that other characters don't. And so Blanche, for example, she has her High Boys ability, which lets her move towards rivals. She can move a far distance towards rivals. She just introduces herself. And then she has Flirt, which is she can use against someone, and that deprives their team of resources. They're kind of being distracted. And then her trait is called Devastatingly Beautiful, because of course
Rue
she is.
McClanahan.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
one of the most gorgeous women alive.
And so it makes all the enemies that are around her, their challenges are weakened because she's just so distracting. And so, but because of that, her character is one of, from a mechanic standpoint, is one of the most disruptive characters in the game, and fits a role in your teams as well.
So this is the first gaming convention that this has been, because it was introduced at San Diego Comic-Con, but not quite as many gamers. So you have people on the floor playing this game. What has the reception been like?
Oh, I mean, it's
fantastic.
It's been pretty tremendous.
Yeah.
I think that it's been great partnering, obviously, with Gen Con. This is our first sort of convention as Funko Games. I know that Funko several years ago was part of the convention selling pop figures. But
they're at every convention selling pop figures.
Yeah.
Yes, or someone is at every convention selling pop figures. You can get them anywhere. But for us, it's been really just a pleasure to be able to be in room 141 doing the demos.
I was just checking the demos because we added the events pretty late in the game, like right after your announcement for Comic-Con. And like looking at the schedule now, a lot of those slots are
sold out.
Yeah. I think when I checked a little bit ago, it was like just time, pretty much only time on Sunday is the only chance you can get into the room now. To see
what
the
room is it
game.
again? So everybody.
It's room 141.
141.
And I will say that if you're happening to be watching this, but you're at the convention, from 6 to 7 we do open gaming. So if you weren't able to get a ticket, you can still come in and check out demos. And then for us, the reason that those are sold out and the reason that having that room is so important is because I was at San Diego Comic-Con and I saw how fierce and fervent the collectors are for Funkos. And we all know, everyone knows a Funko collector. That everyone has a Funko collector in their friend group. And so for us, we wanted to really make sure that the games that we were able to fly in for sale at Gen Con were going to people who are fans of the games. And so we said that we don't want to sell games in the exhibition hall. We want to sell games in our demo room. And in order to purchase a game, you have to get a ticket and play through a demo. And that was really important to our studio because, and not just our studio, but even Funko headquarters, they were adamant about it. They were like, we want gamers to get their hands on these games.
How have attendees reacted to that? Because that's not a typical way that a company will kind of present their game. A lot of times they just want as many people to buy it as possible. They don't want to make you kind of go through a demo experience for it. How have people reacted to that?
So for us, I haven't had my shift yet in the exhibition hall, so I don't know how people are on the exhibition hall.
People have been actually pretty understanding, and I think that a lot of people will also appreciate what we're trying to do with that message, and they're like, you know what, that actually makes sense rather than just like,
it's
a
not
snag
just
and
a
grab
message,
thing.
that's a statement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
We want you to
a
sit
company that has
down.
been almost exclusively collectibles,
Right.
switching to games and saying, no, this is for gamers.
Yeah, absolutely. We want you to sit down. We want you to sit at our table. We want to talk to you about the game. We want to play it with you a couple times. And then we want you to have that moment where you're like, whoa, this is amazing. And like, this is not what I was expecting when I sat down at this table and I'm hooked. And then they get really into the game and they want to keep diving further into the process. So.
I sat down at the table. I bought it already first thing Thursday.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your experience playing this game.
Yeah, which one did you get?
Okay, so it was a little hard. So we wanted to buy everything, but we're like, that's so much stuff here. So we bought the Gotham, the Batman starter set, and then of course the Golden Girls. Because the Golden Girls, there's the 4 character sets and the 2 character ones. And then we're like, we want the Harry Potter one too, but our friend was there. And so we're like, you buy these, and it'll have us a reason to get together and try out all the different sets. So we held back a little bit, but it was very hard not to just go ham and get them. And there's also a limit to the
There
ones
is
you
a
can
limit,
purchase.
You can buy one of the 4 packs, so either a Harry Potter 4 pack or a DC 4 pack, and then you can buy 2 of the 2 packs.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that as of yesterday, these games are available for pre-order online. So if you want to get it right away, as soon as it hits the shelves, October 6th, please go to Target, Walmart, or GameStop.com. And then pre-order the game there.
Is it exclusive through those retailers?
It's
It is
not.
not,
No.
no.
So we're partnering them. We're partnering with them for some of the pre-sales. But really, it's going to be available everywhere on 10.6, including FLGS.
I was going to ask what the kind of distribution is.
So I think that, and that's a good question because a lot of the games that we've come out with other publishers, where sometimes will be like a Target will get it first or something like that. So for this, we are very adamant that it will be available everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean it'll be available everywhere. at the same time. So we wanted to make sure that everyone gets a chance to play it. And you know, because you know, Funko has such a rabid fan base, it's going to be really cool to see this game in places that don't really carry a lot of games. Like Hot Topic, for example, is going to be.
We don't
carrying
see a lot. We
Funko
don't
Verse.
see a lot of what we
Topic.
call
Wow.
big toy companies showing that kind of
Dedication?
integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to the integrity of big toy companies, but I will say that for us, you know, Funko, and this is why the relationship worked out so well, and why we, you know, decided to get together, is because our studio is really passionate about creating like labors of love, and I think truly Funko believes that.
Yeah, and it's just that those, you know, those deals with the big box companies for where they're exclusive, those are very lucrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know they're very lucrative, and to pass up on that to get it out to everybody is just admirable.
Yeah. And we're going to be announcing our studio, and we've conveyed this to the Funko headquarters, and they feel the same way, is very, very strongly passionate about supporting FLGS. We're going to be launching Organized Play, which we'll have more information on that later this year.
Cool. That's going to be so
and
cool.
then,
Very cool.
I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe at the Alliance Open House we'll have some other announcements about ways that we hope to support FLGS, because you know, this is a game that we're hoping players are playing 10 years from now, and we know that if that's going to be the case, that it's going to be playing at your local game stores, getting together and building and fostering those communities, and so we're really adamant about that. You know, so that's something that we talk about every single day, and it's really near and dear to our hearts.
So I know you're on a tight schedule. Is there any closing words you'd like to say about the game? Anything about checking it out?
What booth are you at?
Yeah,
There.
we're in booth 2049 on the
2049.
main floor. So when you're in Gen Con, check out booth 2049. We have all the games on display.
They're
so we
kind of
give
in
you
the middle,
high
towards the
level-
back.
Yeah, in the middle, towards the back. It's a great spot. It's a beautiful.
It's a
booth.
wonderful spot.
Beautiful booth. Yeah, so we're giving high level demos there. If you cannot get into room 141,
If
check
you're
out
if you're watching this
2049.
at 2049 in the exhibition hall, or at 141, we also have limited, and I mean like 1,000 were printed, Gen Con exclusive shirts.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
so we did Genevieve the Dragon is fully like popped on the shirt. 2019 Gen Con. Like
I saw the shirts. They're
you
really
can,
cool.
You can
Yeah,
only get
they're
them
really
here,
cool.
so I'll just let that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pins.
Yeah.
And
Pins,
yeah,
pins,
if, if you purchase the games, you get a chance to demo. You purchase the games, you'll get pins. We have posters. Yeah, we have a lot of good.
And what's the price point on the games?
The price point for the large box is $39.99 and then $24.99.
Oh, those
for
are
the-
very
So they fall well
Yeah.
within the
The range.
affordable
Yeah.
range.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're all standalone playable. So even if you just buy a 2-pack,
Yeah.
you can actually play that game as a 2-player game.
That's excellent.
That is excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us.
Yeah, we're
so glad to have you.
I'm excited. You should all be very excited about this game and check it out if you get a chance.
And you're not, and you're also
Yeah,
not
you
too
guys-
far away from where we are, right? So you know, next time you have a new product, why don't you come on and
Yes.
show it on TableTakes? We'd love to see it.
We've talked a lot about with Funko games about having them come on TableTakes, about having them come on the Gen Con stream in general. So hopefully we can work something out soon.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Like a live
we-
playthrough.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yes.
Oh, I would so play this on
Yes.
Funko wants to do a game
Yeah.
night with us, so
There you go.
Sweet. Here's well, we want to hold on to these, but you probably
Yeah,
want
these are-
so.
the open ones that we get to play with people.
Right.
So thank you so much,
All right,
guys.
Yes,
thank you all for
guys.
joining
Thank
us.
you.
Have a great day.
See ya.
You too.
See you at 2049, right?
2049.
2049.
2049. I was like, what year? 2049? What's
Yeah, I was
going on?
wondering about that.
I was very confused. I was like, are we going
I feel
to
like
the
we're
future?
planning a little far ahead.
Yeah. Game's still gonna be
Oh, so
around
those
at
are our
that point.
guests. I don't even know. I mean, do we even have any show left after that? That was
Yeah.
so much information.
There's a lot.
I think we still I think we still have more than a show left.
We have
Yeah,
more
more
than
than
a
a
show
show,
left.
yeah.
We've
We
got.
always worry, about not having enough content,
And
then,
we
like,
always have too
2
much.
hours later.
2
Never
hours.
get through everything in
Yeah.
the time that we have.
Well, especially because Gen Con. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
normally we would be making the agenda on, Wednesday night, Thursday night.
Thursday
who
night.
had time to read a lot of news this week about games? I mean, I know
Well,
I
there
didn't.
there
Yeah.
is one unfortunate news.
Oh boy.
That is that we have been talking about.
Yeah,
so
we have.
So hey, remember
Taxman's back, everybody.
the tariffs that weren't going to happen? Guess what?
They're
They're
back.
back. So yeah, Trump just announced that he is taking back because China's not negotiating. So he is adding the 10% tariff to all of these products, about $300 billion worth of products that are imported from China. So that affects a lot of people who are, of course, Kickstarters, a lot of people who like gaming dice and all of those various different things, even printables as well for gaming books and materials. So yeah, that 10% increase is scheduled to happen next month.
And this isn't a maybe thing.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
It was a probably thing, and then it was a don't worry about it thing, and now it's going to happen thing.
So it's the usual way things go.
And then he ate a baby.
It appears the audience has some commentary they would like to add.
Oh.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
No. So all that's problematic and all that. There's only one good side to it, and this is related to here at Gen Con.
Oh.
There's a lot of folks that everything is produced here in the U.S. That makes them more competitive.
It will make them more competitive.
Well, yeah,
It's more expensive.
it will make them more competitive,
But
assuming
it's
the
also going to jack up the price of paper
assuming
in
the
the
rest
US.
of the market
Well, no, but
can
remember we
survive.
talked about that. Paper itself is going up, even without this tax or with the tariff increase. It's just because paper mills that usually would print big books and cardstock are now switching to cardboard because of
Amazon boxes.
Yeah, Amazon boxes. I was trying not to out people, but yeah.
We can say, I think we can say Amazon boxes.
Amazon
boxes.
They are.
Some other products, like there's a LARP supply buffer LARPs.
Yeah.
And who kindly are donating a bunch to RPG research. They make all their swords and everything in the U.S. and everything from all local materials and such.
Yeah.
So that's great for them. I mean, again, it's problematic.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
like,
problematic if you're...
in theory,
Yeah.
that's what tariffs are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make things more expensive, so the expensive local things are relatively not as expensive.
Merits the policy. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's only the silver lining.
So
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
it's a silver lining on an otherwise dark cloud for game designers
silver
and
lining.
distributors
But
in this
don't
country.
just take it from us. I will encourage people to do the research, to talk about it, to contact your local official. I mean, yeah, we went from we've been like bouncing around in emotions.
This has been an emotional roller coaster.
Very
Yes,
emotional roller
Jinx.
coaster.
Oh man, you owe me a Coke.
No.
Oh wait, I owe you a
owe-
Coke. There's a Coke.
Who's
My
who?
Coke.
Oh, I was like, oh, is it all of our?
I'm giving it to Emma.
I think the long story short is we don't know what will happen, and there will probably be some amount of turmoil.
This is on our part. This is just speculation and you know a sudden panic.
It's also standard operating procedure for the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in a constant state of emotional flux.
Yes.
So that
Especially those of us that are slightly liberal-minded.
so that curtain is coming down September 1st, apparently, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
you got a month left, guys.
Yeah, man.
All right. So you were saying we haven't had a chance to read much news, but we've been seeing news. Like
We've
I've been
been
seeing
seeing.
news in the making. I feel like in the time we have left, like I want to find who's going to go next. Because I'm very excited about the things that I've been seeing on the show
Then
floor.
go ahead.
Like, I'm sure
A
you're
convention is
very
chaos.
excited.
A convention
The
is
thing is-
chaos. So let's just go.
The thing,
Alright.
yeah, okay, so
Do it.
let's start with this.
Okay.
All of us
Yes.
have very, very different experiences at conventions.
Yes.
All right?
That's fair.
Fair,
Yes.
fair, fair.
And I would like to talk about this. For example, Bonsai, this is your first Gen Con.
Yes, it is. I'm a baby Gen Conner.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
Yay, year one.
And you know, you are obviously out there with the games. Like you're seeing new stuff, you're talking to the game designers.
Yeah. In there.
You're running logistics on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm taking like 170 selfies a day with fans.
Oh.
So
Quite a spectrum.
Yeah,
Yes,
we have a
we have
huge
a
spectrum,
huge
and I'd love to
spectrum.
talk about our individual con experiences.
Yeah.
And just compare and contrast. That would be fun for me.
Who wants to go first?
She's already
Emma wants to
started. I
go
don't want to
first.
start already.
So I have been able to check out a few games, or I made an effort specifically because I wanted to be able to speak to some of the things. Now this won't be an overview, like this is what's happening at Gen Con, or these are even the coolest things. These are the few things.
That you had a chance to
Yeah.
see.
So very pick and choose here. So one of the coolest things I've seen, and people have asked me about my highlight at Gen Con so far, is the Tebaru.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this on the show before,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've been very interested in going over there, but have not made it that far.
Yeah, I was very excited because we talked about on the show just a little bit about our weekly show that we do every week.
Every
that you
week.
can
Every
watch.
week,
You're
by the
on
way,
Gen
and
Con
it's not
TV.
just this.
Can't miss it.
Gen Con TV is actually a streaming channel that we do. We have various different streams.
Yeah.
But
like
Friday
every
is
day.
TableTakes.
Friday is the
Takes.
most important.
Yeah, so because
You know.
of TableTakes, the show is growing in influence and popularity, and because we talked about it and I was so excited about it on the show, they actually reached out to me through my website form and said, do you want to come and check out Tebaru at Gen
I know
Con?
we've arrived.
Yeah.
People are paying attention to us.
Oh, people are reaching out to us. We're media. They're like, do you want a media slot? I'm like, am I media?
We're real life people.
Media.
I want a media slot.
Yeah, so it was really cool. You can actually go over to the CMON booth, and it's the it is glass case of emotion.
It is
There
just
are
so. It's the booth looks great from the outside. I haven't been in
Yeah,
it
you
yet.
can
Oh,
peek
are they
in.
fish taking?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. It's
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
Fish
Yeah.
taking.
So you can see what's going on. So they're not really, it's not media slots where they're keeping it behind closed curtains. Like they're making it very visible.
Well, they reached out to me, again, another last minute thing.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of events that were scheduled in the system to just allow attendees or anybody to reserve a spot to play around with it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Those are all sold out now.
Of
Yeah.
course
Oh,
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it! If only. I wonder if.
If only we knew someone.
There.
Yeah. Who knew someone?
Knew someone who knows about it. I
Who
know.
knows about it?
It's me.
Oh, it's
Yes.
you. It's you.
You're the person?
You're
I'm
the person?
human person.
So you got a chance to play with it.
So I got a chance to check it out. I think in the board game hobby, there's a lot of mixed feelings about digital. You know, some people are very anti-digital, like they don't play video games, they don't want any computers touching.
I only want things that ruin the environment.
touching their physical things. And for me, like I'm gonna say I love video games. I love board games. I love all games, role-playing games, anything.
I love good games.
That was actually kind of a prerequisite
love
for this
good
job.
games.
Well, yes, yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm very excited about the future and the intersection. And the number one thing for me, and as a game designer as well, is approachability. So, as gamers, probably most of the people watching this show, like you are fine to sit down with the rule book for half an hour, read the rule book beforehand, watch a bunch of videos. Like most
Isn't
of
that
us.
half the
Wait,
fun?
wait. Aren't you supposed to watch videos before you play? Is that?
Well,
No.
exactly. That's what we do.
Only millennials watch videos before
That's
they
true.
play.
That's true. I've never done that.
No.
You're supposed
I've
to read the
literally-
rule. You're
I've-
supposed to read the rule book barefoot in the snow, uphill, both ways.
Yep. That's how we do it.
Well, and some people
Still don't know how to play that Game of Thrones game for that very reason.
Right. People will. It's a thing now. Like if you don't personally own the game, if you're playing someone else's copy, they will say like, "Oh, you're coming to my game night. You should watch the video beforehand, so you have that intro." And then I will also teach it, but it makes it just a little easier to jump into the game. You don't do that.
What kind of madness is that?
No.
I'm just like,
just
show up, bring some
Don't
snacks.
you also
There.
play Table
Yeah.
Simulator?
Do you have beer?
The point for you coming over is to hang out. Like the game is incidental.
Well, that's fair. Some people are very serious about it.
Have you
know.
not? Yeah, there's some. I've been in some groups.
Yeah.
Where they're like, okay, so I'm a beer and pretzel kind of girl. If you know
Yeah.
what that refers to, I don't know if you guys.
Beers
That
and
you like
beers and pretzels.
Well, I like, that,
Yes.
and
Or rather, you game non-competitively and somewhat casually.
somewhat casually,
right.
somewhat casually.
That's
and,
what you meant by
And I
it, okay.
also have foodies, mostly cheesy poofs in the big container, and so like a lot of people are like, you touch things with your dirty Cheeto hands.
It's so funny, like as a sidebar, right? It's like we're playing the games, and then they're mad about you touching them. Anyways, back to
Sorry.
Tabaroo,
Yeah.
pulling it back in.
Way to
my
rein
first
it in,
game,
Emma.
The game is Zombicide Evolutions. Is going to be the first game released.
It's like a variant of Zombicide, right?
They're designing this game specifically for the Tabaroo. Real talk, I've never played Zombicide before in my
Okay.
life. I was a little nervous, again, watching the video. I'm like, maybe I should watch the video. Are they going to expect that I've played Zombicide? So we got in there, and the first thing, so you've all played Zombicide before, right? I'm like, I didn't say anything, you know. It was just like, I'll just go with it. I don't want to out myself.
You can't start a relationship on a lie like that, Emma.
And yet she did.
It was an
and
admitted,
succeeded.
admitted truth. And I was also interested to see, you know, as someone who'd never played it before, how will this experience, and not having it being like really discussed to me. So we just jumped into it, you know. So they have the tiles. For those of you who haven't seen the pictures online in the news about it, it's a foldable board that has the tech and the RFIDs in it. It has a hub that plugs to a tablet, and then each player also has their own device. It's going to be Apple and Android, so you can mix and match devices. The main device can be a tablet, or it can be a PC, it can be a laptop that
Okay.
it plugs right into. So you take your characters, the tiles go onto the board. You will place them on a little circle that is like where the activator is, and that counts as a move. As you move it, you can tap it again to search the area. You can place another piece down if you're doing an attack. And they're like, wait, so you move in here, you move here, you do the attack. And it came up to my turn. I'm like, okay, I move it. I can search in here. Okay, tap it. Oh, I got a new fancy chainsaw, you know, that I can cut down all the zombies with. And I was playing the game.
Yeah.
You know, there was the way that the screen works is it will show you It has a little bit of helper text. It's got a mini tutorial built in. It's like, okay, now move your piece. And it has cutscenes. So you get into the room, and there's a lot of flavor. There's a guy who's like hanging by his feet from the ceiling, being attacked by the zombies. And you have to rescue this person. There's
Don't
a
worry,
lot of
kids,
voiceover.
it's all fake.
Yes, yeah. So it was very good. It was very immersive. Zombicide isn't necessarily, like, I'm not huge into zombies, so it's not something I would pick up myself, but I had fun.
Yeah.
I had fun.
But
I learned the game. I didn't feel any boundary to me.
Well,
playing.
Zombicide, I think, is a pretty good example of where Table Root would help.
Yeah.
Just because it is, like, it's, I wouldn't call it a simulationist game.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty, like, readily apparent how you interact with the game. You know,
Yeah.
you are a character moving around a world, doing things in the world, and then fighting zombies. So that matches pretty
Hopefully
well with.
killing them, given the name of the game.
Yeah.
Or you're just bad at the game.
Yeah, or you die.
Yeah, but like, you know, you're moving your character around. Like, it makes pretty close sense. I wonder how that accessibility will translate to games that are a little more abstract.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, they'll probably focus more around the piece movement minis game. Of course,
sure.
they are CMON.
Yeah.
You know, the first games that.
So what you're saying is this Kickstarter board
Yes.
game is going to be perfect for the
The
Kickstarter board game.
TM. Yes, absolutely. And they do have 3 total games that they're working on to release either with the Kickstarter or just around that time. But they do have future
Did
plans.
they
as
give
well.
any details on those, or did they just say that they have 3 in
They
development?
said they had the 3. The only one they've announced is the Zombicide Evolution ones. And they're doing all the development now for the software and for the tech and the game design. But in the future, so the big exciting thing is when people are thinking about it, because it's a console, that they specifically use the word console
Yes,
for
they do.
it. And the thing, people are like, oh, you know, are people going to get into this? Is there going to be enough content? Apparently, they've been flooded with pitch meetings. People are pitching them.
Wow.
People are so, the industry is so excited that they're like, I want to do something. So they have more than enough things. And in the beginning, they will do it, but their plans in the future are to make an API, make it easy for people to design their own games for this console.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is, it sounded kind of weird at first, but
Yeah.
the fact that you're so excited about it
Yeah.
makes me excited about it.
Yeah, and
Well, also
hopefully-
just for
Do
these
you work for
games-
them?
Yeah.
Not yet, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
She's open to offers.
So what you're saying is you're going to have a pitch for them.
Yeah, what you're saying
Yes.
is, yeah.
Oh, pitch. Oh, yeah.
Here,
At the-
ready? Just pitch
Yeah.
TableTakes.
Oh.
Tabaru takes.
Saying.
Yeah, well, if we have them come in and do a show or something, that could be the name of the
Yep,
episode.
we could all get little figures for ourselves.
Yeah.
Ooh,
We get
please.
piled
Move
we get piled in
around.
an agenda and
And
need
then
to
there's
sort it
zombies.
out and then regurgitate it.
Yeah, and then zombies come
I
and
would,
attack the
I would love to
studio.
be a figurine, please.
And I think the biggest thing is a lot of the triggers, a lot of the upkeep for a game. And this is the thing, and I was saying like my niece and nephew who are like 12 years old, they could play this. Like my non-gamer in-laws could play this. Like my parents could probably play this because it takes care of that upkeep and like the maintenance stuff. So you have like your health.
So
you
the
know?
upkeep phase, the maintenance phase,
There-
but it doesn't kick tear the untap phase.
No, not that one. But maintenance is not a phase in Magic. That's
Look,
good try.
Reality is irrelevant to the joke that I attempted
No,
to make
that's-
that you then destroyed.
Yeah, I see
slapped
what
I
you-
like
down.
that you
Like,
slapped
you're
him
not
down by
allowed.
out-nerding him.
Oh.
That is
I know
legit.
stuff. I know stuff.
You know lots of stuff.
All the stuff.
But yeah, just like how many zombies come in, where they come in, tracking your health, and all those little fiddly things, you know, which a lot of gamers love. You know, they like doing that.
I hate
but-
doing that crap.
Exactly. Yeah, for
That's
me,
part of the reason
just
I don't play a lot of board
remembering-
games.
Remembering, like, how much health did I have? Did I move?
Well,
Did
that's
I,
why
did
you
I
have a
knock it
little
off the
tracker.
board?
You got a little tracker.
Yeah, but it's fiddly. Still fiddly.
I like to fiddle.
Yeah, but you get to do the stuff. So you get to physically put the zombie. You look at the thing and you
For
put
a second,
the
I
zombies
thought you were
on
telling
there.
a joke.
You just
'cause
don't have to
were doing
remember.
thought I was.
You were playing the violin, and I see that now.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I'm not saying it will replace. You still
Sure,
have that
sure,
experience,
sure.
but it will. They want to be mass. They want to eventually go to mass. They want to get more people into.
To
these
me,
types of
I
games.
think I'm all for making it more accessible. That's
Yeah.
certainly great. But I think, like, personally, for me as a gamer, the thing I'm most interested in is it maybe fulfilling the promise that we've seen of other electronic crossovers.
Oh,
Like we
yes.
talked about Golem Arcana and stuff like that, like ones that have attempted and failed.
Yeah.
But the promise has always been allowing a more complicated system or a more rich system without increasing the complication that the players have to play with. So like, I'm comfortable with a certain amount of complication at the board. I'm happy to do that. That's probably part of why I'm playing the game.
Yeah.
But you know, this allows the game behind that to be much bigger and deeper and perhaps, you know, do more without increasing the load on me, even if I'm at a higher like load level than, you know, a starting or you know, non-gamer player.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to be able to kind of hit both ends of that spectrum.
Yeah, and I think so. And
It's really going to depend entirely on what games people make for it.
Yeah.
So like, you know, this is like discovering dice. Like, dice are sweet. I wonder what people are going to do with them, and hopefully we'll get a whole range of ridiculous things to try.
yeah,
out.
and they do everything with dice. They were very candid at the show too. I'm like, can I just talk about all this stuff? They're like, yes, anything we say here is free to say. So, price point. They're saying at the $100 to $120, and that's for the system. You still have to buy the games on top of that. They're going to be about the same price as the game would be.
Does it come with a game?
Not for that price.
I don't think so.
So you will have to buy the Zombicide at like the 40, 50, whatever price point it is.
Based on how consoles work, I suspect that we'll have like you buy the King, and then you
And
buy
you get
like
an extra controller in a game.
and then you buy a package with it, and et cetera, et cetera.
There will be a pack. But
Yeah.
for you look at something like Drop Mix. Drop Mix started out at 100, and that was the one thing. It did come with the game, but they were saying that they were going to be a console.
Wait, which one's Drop Mix?
That's the one where you put the cards in and
And it makes the
music.
sounds?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking it was something you put in your water to flavor it.
There. It flavors the sound in your ears. So kind of similar.
Yeah, brand new flavor in your ear.
Yeah. This- but I think, and that's to start too. So like, imagine like as tech gets cheaper, like we'll be able to.
Well, once you get into mass production, they'll
Oh.
knock that
Well,
right.
you know,
What is that theory that the guy's still alive who's like really into futurism, that the path of technology as it is right now is going to outpace itself? So like you could walk out of a store and have an outdated phone.
I think that's right now.
Yeah, we're almost there.
We're almost to the future. Oh gosh, darn
almost
it.
to the future.
It's
The future is now.
The future is then.
I'm going to help you with this, okay? Here
I
we go.
can't
We got
remember
this.
the name.
Everybody?
All right, no,
Jump.
nope. You almost got me.
Yeah.
I did.
But what I'm going to say is, do we
Yeah.
want to? Let's do a ridiculous take. How
Yes.
long until those WizKids pre-painted and unpainted minis are built in with the Taboru RFID in the bottom?
6 years.
6 years?
That's my-
6 years. We got a
I'm going
6.
6 years.
Can we get a 7? Can we get a 2?
6. I'm getting a 5.
5?
So that like I think
you know what?
I feel like you're just trying to do Price is Right rules. of
6
like,
and
high
$1.
but not low.
You know what? I'm gonna say with like 3D printing and stuff right now, I'm gonna give it like 3 years.
nice.
Sure,
I'm-
sure.
I mean, 3D printing's absolutely there. I'm more thinking about like, hey, let's make sure all of our figures have these chips in them too. You
Well,
know?
okay, but I mean, I'm saying sooner because I went on the show floor and I saw some things on the show floor.
Well, we
Really?
are definitely.
Well,
gonna
why
talk
don't we
about that.
transition? What did
Yeah,
you
let's
see?
go. Let's
Yeah.
go over here because you.
Okay, so this is of
By the way,
course
happy first Gen Con.
Yes.
happy first Gen Con to me.
You've
so
been also you've been kind of Gen Con's man on the street since you got here. So you've been
Yes.
running around basically 12 hours a day, just
well, not 12 hours, just like 10.
only 10.
Quite,
Only
yeah.
10, so it's it's
Only
all
10
right.
with a half hour
Yeah,
break.
we get to
I'm not a
eat.
horrible taskmaster.
No,
Oh,
no,
come on. Yes,
jeez.
you are.
But it's been fun. I've been going around. By the way, for a first time experience going around with Peter Atkinson,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
exactly the
that's
first
amazing.
experience
I'm like,
you want to have.
hey, and he's like, hey, you want to just go anywhere? I'm like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some
so-
reason, they give that guy like access to anywhere he
know.
wants to go. It's
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
owns
Like-
the place.
Bonsai, there was a reason when Peter texted me like, "Hey Derek, I've got a plan." I was like, "Okay, Peter, that sounds great." And then I was like, "Lauren, please keep on. I need to know what's happening here. Be prepared to intervene."
No, but it was fun. We had a good time. Apparently now I'm going to officiate weddings here at Gen Con with him.
What?
And it's going to be LARPing weddings.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
that happens.
so now I guess contact.
You are like the
Yeah.
luckiest girl in the whole world.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds
so I have to say it was actually really funny watching your stream because at the beginning of one of your streams, I could see in the background people violating rules. and then I could just call the local HQ and deploy the team and see the rule fixed in the. And I was like, yes, I love this. Give me cameras everywhere.
Give me cameras
So
everywhere.
Bonsai is also your eye in the
Yep.
sky.
Eye in the
Absolutely.
sky. Haha, I'm a
But
spy.
then it was also you were going around with Peter, and you're like, where's Hole B? And I'm like, it's to your left. It's to your left.
Because Peter doesn't know.
I'm just.
There's a big magic sign. It's hanging from the ceiling.
Look, it's hard.
Yeah, we
Stuff is
were
hard.
getting very distracted. Did you not see how like side quest we went?
Oh yeah,
We went side quest. I got okay. So like in the interview, like I'm not like this is my first time, so I'm jumping and trying to get everything, like kind of speed running.
Yeah.
The
Right.
con as it is.
I'm going to warn you right now, it's not going to work.
No, it doesn't.
No
There's-
running's allowed.
I
Another rule break.
only got the main, like half of the main area and the stadium. That's all I've covered. There's so much.
Yeah.
So much. And then like one of the big things is like there's the LARPing area, there's the laser tag, and then there's also like a kid area. So if you're like I really do like.
So if you're looking for kids to buy, you can.
No, but I mean
Oh,
like
okay, sorry.
it's great that like how Gen Con is, they have things for everyone. So even if you're a parent, and if you want to be like I've seen like historical battles, like it depends on what level you want to be. There's
Yeah.
always somebody there. And it's not just about like being like, oh, this is only my group only. There's a lot of generally people have been super nice.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
awesome.
people come to Gen Con to play games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually they're playing a game that they love.
Yes.
Which usually means that they want to share that with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are pretty open and welcoming to getting new folks in, teaching them the game, getting them acclimated, getting them through it, because they want more people to enjoy the thing that they enjoy.
And for those of us less socially inclined, this is where we see our friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went and had a lunch with a guy that I live, maybe a half an hour away from,
Yep.
that I work with, on the regular, and I never get to hang out with him unless we're at Gen Con.
Yep. The number of people that it's like, great, we flew halfway across the country together from the same place, so now we can actually see each
Yeah.
other.
And Gen Con's just got kind of, it's obviously it's family friendly, but it has over the years, between all the people who've come for, since the beginning of time, I guess back in the Milwaukee days,
Yep.
Which I
6,000
understand was
years
in the
ago.
early 1900s, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
But we're in what, the 51st year of Gen Con at this point?
I want to say 52nd.
Yeah, well, either way,
Something like
it's
that.
been going on a lot longer
Long.
than I've been around.
Yeah.
A little tiny bit longer than I've been around. A lot longer than you've been around.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
people-
it's a family. I
Yeah.
mean, it really is.
people kind of have rogue friendliness too. It's not just that they'll invite you or like allow you into their game. Our first year, we bought Machikoro and we sat down in the hall and we're looking at this. And this was kind of my intro to gaming too. This was before I really had like read a lot of rules and played a lot of games. And we're kind of sitting there like this. And someone's just they're like, "Do you want me to teach you that game? I know how to play it." So like, what? Just plop
Random
down in the hall.
encounter.
In
Like,
that
is
case,
this a
yes,
trap?
please.
But hold on, was your response, can I watch a video first?
This is before I knew about
Probably.
video for
Probably.
learning how to play. They said, yes. Do you want food or money? Or do you want something in exchange? It's like, no, I just want, you don't seem like you've just bought
You
that
don't
game.
look like you've watched the video,
Yeah.
he said.
You look confused and scared, and I want to help you with that.
And that's how we used to learn how to play games.
Yeah.
People would randomly approach us in the hallway.
I can just imagine
Yeah.
someone being like, "Oh, do you want to learn how to play that game? Yes, please. Here's the QR code. Watch the video," and then we'll just walk off. But so this is your first
Yes,
Gen Con.
first Gen Con.
I mean, I guess like characterize it. Tell us some of the things that you saw.
Oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. And I just, the one thing, by the way, hey, if you want to get into games, definitely first day it comes out, just sign up for everything. Because man, those things fill up
Yes, they do.
so fast.
There
I
are-
was
there
thinking
are-
about, I had a little free time coming up on Sunday, and I was thinking about signing up for some things, but everything I want to do is just
I
completely
definitely-
full.
I bet we could find something new. There's still stuff with tickets. Like it's
Yeah.
weird. It's one of those things of yes, a lot of things fill up, but
everybody
there's
shows
also so many things that have space.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
So Gen Con is very much if you are coming to Gen Con with one particular specific thing in mind and that's the only thing you want to do,
Sign up early.
sign up early,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also like you are setting yourself up for frustration perhaps.
Yeah.
Whatever, but like if you are just kind of open to trying something different, then you will not stop finding things to occupy your time.
Oh no, I have been. I've been wandering. I've bought many generic tickets, and I have said, "Hello, Quester. I have the monies. May I join your group?" And it has been successful.
So what have you played?
I actually did a werewolf game.
Oh.
That was the one I had a lot of fun. Gosh darn, the werewolf one. I knew Waluigi was the villain. I knew it in my heart of heart.
It's Waluigi.
Yeah, Waluigi.
I know, like he's always a villain.
Yeah.
I knew it, but they're like, "Are you just judging this person because they're Waluigi?" I'm like, I know that's the werewolf.
You're the werewolf, you son of a.
Just leaning into it. I
Just
love
leaning
that.
into it. But yeah, that was fun. And then I also did a lot of like making stuff because I have a Warbler class as well. And it's just
Wait, what?
A Warbler. It's like
Tell us about Warbler.
So I've never worked with it before.
It sounds
That's
like a
why
tiny,
I took,
cute little animal.
So it's more of like like you know how EVA foam is foam. Warbler
I
is
don't know
like
that.
a very hard plastic but still flexible.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
so the kind of thing you would make like
Armor
out of. Yeah,
Nice.
okay.
So yeah, I
cool.
have a Link cosplay, a medieval Link cosplay that I'm going to be working on. If you saw my Mario Samurai. By the way, making a historically accurate samurai costume is the pain in my tush.
Yeah, I think that's why they stopped doing it in Japan.
Yeah, and then it was also you can't really sit down. You have to have like a certain like I had like there's a reason why they're like
You're supposed to be able to hold horse
No,
stance
but
all day.
have you never seen the Kurosawa movies? There's a reason they have that little like action stool.
You know what? I
The
get it.
samurai
I get
action
it,
stool,
but I
TM.
wasn't thinking about it, and I decided to do this at like Emerald City Comic Con, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great. And then I was walking and I was like, oh god, this is the worst because this is as much as I can see. I can't sit
Turn your whole
down.
body.
And I'm like this.
Bonsai. What?
What?
Who's talking to me?
But yeah, no.
I love playing D&D forever.
Yeah.
People are like, putting on armor, and then put any of those folks in a suit of armor. It's like, go do anything.
Yeah,
do
I've
anything.
Go to the bathroom.
I don't know. Have you ever like tried to like one thing I would ask that would be really cool because there is a LARPing area. Maybe you should contact the people that actually do the like fighting in
No,
full armor.
we've had live sword demonstrations at Gen Con in the past.
No, but I mean there's a group
Yeah.
that does, or right? That does. Okay.
Yeah, like we've had stuff like that in the past.
I want to see war.
I want to see war.
War.
Well, okay. I mean, that's
Don't
one
worry about you, Bonsai.
You come
Worry
to
a
Gen
lot.
Con, nice and innocent. You leave wanting to murder. You got it.
There you go.
That's something that you specifically
Come,
work
come
to,
for the inclusion, stay for the blood.
that's something you specifically work to prevent for like especially the rush
No,
in the morning. You're like, we want to have a nice rush, not a
Oh yeah, the
Black
rush was
Friday,
fun. The releasing of
trampled to
the.
death
Oh man, that's
rush.
so much fun to watch from the inside. I've got a video. It's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness! But I
Yeah.
was just like, oh my God, there's so many people.
Yeah, I think
So
this
many
morning
people.
they had the camera on the inside too to get
Oh,
that.
good.
Nice.
That's my
Oh.
favorite part of Gen Con is
I'm surprised
being at the
nobody
booth
gets-
and watching, because our booth is like, right by the front door, so
Yeah.
I can watch everybody come in all at once, and it's,
The fire hose stream.
oh,
Yeah.
like if I wasn't like safely behind my cardboard table, I would feel so in danger.
Yeah, no, but I was saying that was one of like a first time experience. That's super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd make sure I watch it every year because it's my favorite part.
So your experience
Yeah.
has been like neat new games and new things that you've been trying out.
Yes.
Bonsai's experience has been, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Sensory overload.
What about you?
Well, and this isn't necessarily common knowledge, but the company that I'm with, I've made some movies with, and so I have the unique perspective that I get treated like a celebrity while I'm here, because we have lots and lots of fans, and they. We sign autographs a lot. Like my hand hurts from all of the autographs.
I'm so sorry for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. your poor.
Also, people keep wanting to take their picture with me.
It's so hard.
Oh.
No, it's like I don't know. I get treated like a rock star for a whole week, and it's fun. I like it. I mean, I can't necessarily like go anywhere by myself, which is okay because I hate being alone. On the other hand, I'm always so exhausted by the time I'm done. I don't want to talk to anybody for a week after I get home. But this week is like, this is okay. That's right. I can be a social human being, and look,
Right, yeah.
and I get to I put on this whole. I have a problem with crowds. A lot of people don't know this because I'm fine here because I've learned to kind of do this character that is.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do know about the quiet room, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's a quiet room.
There
Yeah.
didn't used to be,
Yes.
but there is now. Yeah.
The past couple of years, we've had a quiet room in 211.
Okay, 211.
And that is, so 211, because I don't know if it's near the Sagamore. But remember because you were probably running around when you go into Hall D for the event hall.
Yeah.
The kind of the big crossroads hall. Go up the escalators that go over the food court. And it's right there. So like if people need to take a break from a crowd, like if they don't have a character they've developed, then you can hop up to the quiet room and just kind of decompress for a few minutes and kind of collect yourself.
Granted, that character, I mean, I've been doing this for, 15 years now.
Yeah.
And that character has kind of gone away over time. Like the first couple of years, I couldn't deal with the people, so I would just show up in my pajamas, and be the guy in pajamas.
Banana in pajamas.
But it's a lot of the same fans plus a lot of the new ones, so I recognize faces now, and it seems like it's so much more home than it used to be. So it's not as overwhelming for me as it was, 15 years ago. So I don't have a pajama day on Saturday anymore because I don't need it.
So new games.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
Yes.
Coming home.
Coming home and then putting on like the biggest show that I do all year.
Nice.
We're doing, we're playing to the big room, 1,000 people. We're almost sold out again.
Nice.
Yep. I just had to reschedule
my rehearsal
your
because we
rehearsal
moved TableTakes up, right? And and when you're dealing, I'm here with a team. I'm here with my 7 cast members and 4 crew members and producers and stuff like that. So it's the only time of the year that I allow group texts to enter my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Because we're all coordinating and re-coordinating and schedules move,
Talking
so I've
about
got to
people
move
who
these
have
7
problem with
people over
technology.
here. And then tonight I get to go and see 1,000 of my best friends and put on a show for them and hang out and have them come up and play Monsters.
And that's going to be streamed.
Yes, it's
so
gonna
perhaps
be
you should mention the time and the channel it will be on.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the Gen Con channel.
Gen Con main stage.
Gen Con main stage, and of course it's probably we're gonna have it on the Fantasy Network after that, and YouTube following that.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely check that out. That's a lot of fun. I put a lot of work into that.
What time is it?
It's 7 p.m. tonight,
7 p.m.
Eastern time,
Eastern.
and tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
But I mean, there's lots of channels going around, 3 different channels. So if you guys want to watch it, it's twitch.tv/team/GenCon.
That has all 3.
That has all 3
channels. Perfect.
So yeah, after tomorrow morning, I just get to do regular Gen Con stuff, which means I work the booth, 6 hours a day, and
you get to relax, right? And only
it's fun. It is kind of relaxing, and I get to see all my friends. Like the nice thing about my company is that I work with all the people I love.
Yeah.
My wife is part of the company now. But
I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of people in the gaming industry. Is it's not usually the fame and fortune. It's usually a combination of the projects you're working on and the people you're working with.
Yeah.
Like we have the best fans in the world, but I'm never going to be a rich man because of it, and that's fine. I just love what I do.
Yeah, rich in love.
As long as they let me make stuff.
Yeah.
And wear your pajamas when you really need to.
Yeah.
And wear my pajamas, and they're very understanding about that. Plus, they just think I'm cosplaying.
Speaking of making stuff, what is this?
Oh yeah, I got some
What are
toys.
these?
These are just
So shiny.
They're shiny.
So
We're in the show and tell phase. Let's do it.
well,
sorry,
we still got to talk about what Derek has
Oh
to
yeah,
do.
Derek.
Then we'll go to show and
Yeah,
tell.
then
Okay.
we'll go to show. Sorry, I got distracted by dice.
Sure. Well, so Derek's experience of the show is arrive on Sunday, have 4 days of meetings and emergencies, and then
Everything's on fire.
Putting out fires.
Yep.
Causing other fires on accident.
Yeah.
And then because
Watching
that's
the stream and
basically
calling
what
in.
it is. Yeah, is just things have to get fixed. A lot of people are going to arrive Tuesday or Wednesday, figure out that their space isn't set up the way it was, something's wrong, it wasn't delivered, there was a miscommunication.
Where's
so-
my pallet?
Yep. So there's a whole lot of that I have to deal with all the way through Thursday, and then Thursday night-ish, Friday, Saturday it's weird. Like my curve of the show is the reverse of most attendees, in that I'm super busy right off the bat, and then I can kind of just coast for a little bit. Everything's
Mine is very similar.
A little okay, and then Sunday you have to kind of wrap everything up again.
Yeah.
So
you have the time to sit down and
specifically, what is your job?
So I'm in charge of almost all of the games at the show, basically. So if it's a game, then it went through my desk. If it's streaming, I was in charge of it. So that means that of the 21,000 something events, I want to say like 19,000 of them kind of went through me.
Oh.
I thought I had a lot to do with like we're sponsoring the film festival this year, and we're doing all these games, and we're doing the shows. But compared to you, I literally do almost nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gen Con happens because of Derek and
Well,
team.
Yeah,
and
the team.
And
whole
the team,
Gen
and the
Con is
team,
great.
but
We
also,
love them.
yeah.
I mean, and there's like what I think 15 employees at Gen Con, and then I want to say we have 150 like event team members who come out for the show and stuff like that. You know, and they're the people who put on the show. Or like, I guess the better way to phrase it is they're the people who kind of put together the infrastructure.
Yeah, they execute
that
the plan.
That
Yeah.
will, I mean, they're the people who build the house in which all the exhibitors and event organizers and attendees make Gen Con happen. Because like that's
a good way to
that's
put
the
that.
other perspective is like I don't think that we can claim that we make Gen Con what it is.
No, we make Gen Con
like
what it is. All of us.
we
right.
make the stage, and then everybody else shows up, and like
then they-
you know, people are not like, man, I loved Gen Con staff. They're like, yeah, they come to the show, and they're like,
I say that almost every
And-
year.
and they're
I
like-
like the staff only.
yeah, they're like, man, I love this game I played at Gen Con. You know, and like we gave the space for it, like we set it up, but we're not the people there who are running the individual tables, making the memories for people.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that beautiful?
So why don't you share?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we at the show and tell phase?
Show and tell phase.
Because everybody brought stuff. It
We
looks
did.
like.
We still have a bunch of headlines, but we'll run through those later.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get to it, that's fine. But show and tell.
Yeah.
Show and
So
tell.
I was, I was thinking there was going to be a lot of like people who had brought a lot of board games and stuff, and I didn't want to take up much space. Plus, I don't have a lot of time to go look around the exhibition hall. I just don't. You know, I'm stuck in one corner of it. I know
Before
this
the
is hard to
show,
believe.
before the show, you literally told me, "Hey, I'll be in the exhibit hall, so I'll have
I
plenty
did,
of time to go around the
I did,
exhibit hall."
and I went around before it was open for a
You
couple.
built our relationship on a lie.
No, I did these
All
things.
this lies.
I was prefacing.
Lies.
If you're not going to let me finish. Okay. But this year I went and I got to do that, instead of doing that on Sunday night, like I usually end up having to do it,
Yeah.
I went and did it, before we opened. First, after we finished setting up the booth on Wednesday, I'm like, okay, what's where am I going to go? And then Thursday, in the morning, we went down and we looked at the things we wanted to look at. And then I realized, like, I didn't really grab anything to bring on the show. Like, everybody knows I like the riff stuff, so of course I bought a bunch of that. I got so much. The worst.
Riffs?
There.
What's riff? No,
Oh no! By the way, you should pat me on the back just for not saying that while our guests were here.
good job.
Because
have you
Working
tried
into the
riffs?
show.
when they were
Tried
talking about Funko Verse, and they're like saying, "Oh, well, you can do this," and this, I almost was like, no, tell me more about that.
Well, maybe you just need to pitch the Funko Verse Table to Riffs crossover.
Oh, that's a pod.
That's
That
what we
could happen.
need.
That might,
That's
might
what
be
we
fun.
need.
So the one
Yeah.
place that I did go, and the one thing I decided I wanted to bring is because we've got a lot of these bigger game companies, and all of you guys know about all these bigger game companies. You know everything there is to know about them because you know who the designers are. I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I never have, and I'd never pretended to. I know guys who write role-playing games. I know guys who write fantasy novels, and I know guys who draw comic books. And I went to go see one of my friends who draws comic books.
Yeah.
And he's just started a dice company
Oh.
recently in the last couple
What is the dice company called?
It is called Black Oak Workshop.
Black Oak.
And it is they make these beautiful custom dice.
Yeah, they are really
They're like,
gorgeous.
look at this one's called
Like the
that's called like Draco Lich or something like that.
I have a
that
dice
is
problem,
very
and this is
nice.
I've already spent. You want to know how much I spent on dice
The coloring
already?
on
No. Go spend more. Please support our exhibitors.
So
15 rolls well.
yeah, and so
16, 13.
and I know
better
there's
than
like,
average.
And
These
I know
guys
if
are
you're in
better
the
than average.
exhibition hall, there is literally a million dice booths. You can go to a Chessex booth, and I mean, there's what, like 9 or 10 of them at
I
this
think
point.
there's at least 2 Gen Con specific dice.
Oh
sets
yeah,
this
there
year, too.
is. I saw.
Well,
But-
just say like your progression as a dice. I don't want to use the word addict, but aficionado. That's the word I'm using.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good. I
that's
like
good.
that.
I
A
like
dice
that one.
appreciator.
A dice appreciator. You start out, you're like, oh, these dice are cool. These dice are cool. But after a couple of years, you
There's
have
different
like
shapes now.
300 or 400 dice,
Yeah.
and then you need to start looking into the nooks and crannies for like the weirder dice, like the foodie dice, right?
I feel like I
oh, this
started in the
one-
nooks and crannies, basically.
Did you know there's
Yeah.
like dice specific for different like classes you played.
Ooh.
So like it has like a wizard staff.
And this company actually
yeah.
makes dice exactly like that.
Yeah?
They've got ones with little ray guns on them and ones with arrows. This one I specifically brought.
That's cool.
This is
yeah.
their Gunslinger dice. It's a 6-sided die
yes.
that shows basically the chamber of a revolver.
So they have this one.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
one
thought
of the
it was
ones they
cool.
make.
I'm gonna
It's
have
one
to
of their
get this
newer
for my
ones.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they've got these cool ones with skulls on them that are not out yet, that are coming out. They're really, really neat.
Nice.
But Jolly Blackburn, who writes the Knights of the Dinner Table comic that I've been a big fan of since
Some
the
people might have heard of.
Yeah, some people might have heard of it if you've ever read a Dragon magazine or been a fan of gaming.
What's the booth number again?
They're at
yeah.
booth 1129.
Nice.
Actually, they're with Kenzer and Company, who does Hackmaster and Knights of the Dinner Table and Kingdoms of Calamar, I think.
Sounds right.
Wait,
Yeah.
Calamari?
No.
Kingdoms Calamari. Ooh.
Kingdoms
I'm
of
hungry.
Kingdoms of Calamari sounds like a board game both of you would buy.
Yeah, I guess. Kingdoms of Calamari.
That was not meant to be offensive.
See,
Now that you mention
tentacles
it
to know
though,
where this is
I'm very
going.
offended.
if you mention it to Jolly Blackburn, they will probably be like,
It'll
"Oh."
probably end up in a nice dinner tabletop.
or he'll
Crossover.
Kingdoms of Calamari. Eh?
or he'll be like, yeah, we already made that joke like 5 times. Like we bring up those strips.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got this dice company, and they're making all sorts of cool things. I just brought what I could grab.
Is the dice bag from them
Yes,
too?
plus cool custom dice bags.
Ooh,
They've
nice.
got one that's very
Beautiful.
Stranger Things themed.
Oh.
But it's like random things, and it's
Random
it's
things.
very, very cute. They've got a bunch of selection of dice bags, but yeah, go over and check out the booth if you're here. If not, check them out online.
Yep.
You can find them at blackoakworkshop.com.
Ooh.
There you go.
Has anybody done a "These are a few of my Stranger Things" joke?
No, but
No.
I've just written that song in my head.
There.
Well, let me know how that works out.
I will probably
wow.
sing it for you
You're
next
right.
week.
Thank you. We'll
Okay, now you have an
we'll have a
assignment.
special, we'll
Yeah,
have a
now
special
we're in.
musical interlude in our
Yeah.
show next week.
Oh, yes.
I have to do that for Masters of the Metaverse. That's why I have to bring
Do
my
we
guitar
all
to the
get to
studio
write
every
a
week.
lyric?
Yeah, if we write our own lyrics,
Yes,
it's
you
not
do.
infringing, right?
Yes,
We're
yeah.
allowed to do that?
Yeah, we're allowed to do
Free,
it.
fair use,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Fair use.
parody
We can
right.
sing.
Parody law. We got
Parody law.
it's on our
Yes.
side.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Musical
put that.
episode.
I'm gonna put that on the agenda for the 9th.
Okay.
Okay,
I love
yes.
it.
Love it.
These are a few of my Stranger Things.
Did you bring anything to share?
So Black Oak Workshop.
No.
No, you brought your experience
I
and
brought
passion.
my experience. If you wanted me to bring stuff,
I knew Derek was
had
going to bring the good
things.
stuff.
I had things.
I bought Funko Verse.
Oh yeah,
so
you brought.
that
You brought.
was-
Yeah, you brought Funko Verse.
Okay.
I brought Hawk.
Funko
Oh,
Verse.
you know what? Actually,
And he's bigger than all your stuff.
Actually, if Twitch or Twitter can help me, or not Twitter, the chat can help me, I need to find a specific stuffed animal.
Oh.
Every
Okay.
con, I try to look for the most of that con stuffed animal. Especially because I'm in a new state, I have a hoarding collection of stuffed
Okay.
animals. So I need a specific Gen Con plushie.
Like you need a plushie specific of Gen Con, or just a plushie
That
that you
in
can
con-
buy at Gen Con?
That you can buy at Gen Con that most is the essence of it sounds so dumb.
so
Oh, do
basically-
we have Gen
When you come to the
plushies?
dealer hall, let me show you some places.
Okay.
I think we talked about that.
okay.
So I thought about that. So you're basically what you want is you want a plushie that most embodies Gen Con.
Yes.
I just buy an Eevee every year.
But also, I bought a lot of stuff from the Gen Con booth because, hey, by the way, your orange scheme is great.
There.
I don't know if you know my favorite color. It's orange.
Really?
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
Really.
weird.
Really.
I never knew
A
that.
shock of orange, perhaps.
Shock.
So something orange.
Well,
That
no,
says
it
Gen
doesn't.
Con on it.
No, it doesn't have to
Doesn't
be
have
orange.
to be orange.
But I mean, I want to.
Well, I
need
mean,
to
I
find-
think the plushies, the squishable, like the huge, round, fat squishables.
Yeah.
Those are usually my bets.
Your
Especially the
bets.
one that looks real dumb and has snot running down his nose.
Ah.
There are some adorable, like, kawaii, like, cats and stuff over, I want to think it's like 1800 or 1900
saw that
in
place.
the back. There's some really cute ones back there.
I've been
okay.
looking.
Oh yeah, the
Dragons.
dealer hall is just full of amazing stuff.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's just
Not wrong.
all the stuff is good.
I have a budget. Ugh.
The stuff that I brought
didn't get paid till
is
today, so today.
like basically yesterday at about 5 p.m. right before the exhibit hall closed, I went and tried to execute on my relatively short shopping list.
Yes.
Sadly, I could not get to the booth in time to get the Delta Green stamps because they were selling like Delta Green like eyes only stamps and stuff like that. I wanted to get that, but they sold out. But like in 15 minutes, so
Wow.
I don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
That was gonna happen.
Good,
Yeah, but like I was just too busy Thursday morning.
Yeah.
You could have also done the hint, hint, hello.
Oh, I got
Did
that.
you-
I got
you-
that bird game. when I got here.
Wingspan?
That's the one I went.
Wingspan?
Bird game.
They sold out in
Flap.
what was it?
Flap.
Like a minute and a half. It was. They only brought
they
600.
had 930.
They brought 600 copies with them.
Oh, okay. Because I
And
remember
then
that somebody did the math and
Gosh
they
darn
sold
it,
the
that-
game every 17 seconds.
They sold the first like 125 before the dealer hall opened, just from.
I haven't
Never-
gotten
From
there.
other
Darn
exhibitors
it.
coming
That's
and
one of
buying
my
it.
games
Yeah.
I was gonna.
I gave it to we gave it to our mother-in-law.
Oh,
That
oh,
she's
that's nice.
She loves birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And-
she needs a game she can play.
Yeah, that's part of the
That she loves.
inspiration for Elizabeth Hargrave is like getting games for people with themes that you don't normally
Oh my God,
see.
and they were so nice. That's a wonderful booth. If you do have,
Yeah.
if-
Oh, yeah.
even though they're sold out, go and talk to them. They're wonderful people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing I tried to get that was sold out was the Cyberpunk Quickstart.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
that sold out.
Yeah.
I think they're giving a certain amount each day.
Yeah.
So maybe I can find it today. I don't know.
Yeah.
I asked my wife to pick it up
Is
because
it
she
after
was in the
10:30?
exhibit hall.
Yeah, it's 11:40. You don't get one.
I asked her to get it for me while she was in the exhibit hall with the camera. I don't know if she remembered. We'll find out.
You didn't watch because we were on.
No, we
on
were
stream.
here. So the things I was able to pick up is I got a travel case for Gravwell from Broken Token.
Ooh.
It's so funny. I was talking to Corey Young last night, who is the designer of Gravwell, and he just had the game. He's just like at the Nerd Night last night. He's like, "Look at this. This is so cool." I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool."
What's Gravwell?
So Gravwell is a really cool card game where like you are the ships trying to escape a black hole.
That looks
Yeah.
a little bit like a circular cribbage board to me.
It is.
That's awesome.
So like normally the game is like played on a much larger board and you got little minis and stuff like that.
Yeah, little ship
And
minis.
you draft these cards
Yeah.
that allow you to kind of move towards or away the nearest mass object.
That's a very.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
look
you're,
at that,
you're-
Kate.
You're
Yeah.
moving
That's
along
a
the
good-
board, but it's not absolute movement.
Yep.
It's all relative.
Look, I've never seen the.
Do you mind
I've never
if we
seen, I've never seen
open it?
the full size version of the game,
sealed.
but I love the travel one already.
Can we open
Yeah,
it?
go ahead. Well, the thing is, it has to be assembled. It's a broken token thing.
Oh.
So yeah, so like if
Speaking
you
of
crack it
the-
open,
I thought it was already assembled in there.
no, if you crack it open, it doesn't have the game in it either. So you crack it open, and here's
I
the
see
assembly
right now.
instructions.
Oh.
And here are the sheets that
Laser
you're gonna have to, punch
punch
out,
it.
Yeah.
and then you glue them together.
Let me see. How thick is this?
Yeah,
Oh,
shout
pretty
out
nice and thick. What's it
to
made of?
Corey Young and also
It's
yeah, it's
part of
balsa,
it.
right.
I was talking to him a little bit about this last night. He's also, if you saw that giant dice tower thing with the gears, it's got a little cage
Yeah,
for
yeah.
naughty dice.
Yeah.
I think he worked on that as well. And they just have some just beautiful, amazing accessories for your
Oh my God.
gaming
We'll stick it out here so
predilections.
everybody can take a look.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of broken token stuff because like I'm basically the kind of person who's like, look, if you love a game,
I'm gonna put the assembly
that-
instructions
I'm gonna
back
need those.
inside.
Oh yeah, that might
You know,
help.
if you've got a game, if
Unless
you
you just
love
want
a
to
game,
watch the video.
no.
Okay.
Then get the stuff to pack the game or to pack the game away better because it's going to deploy faster. What? So broken token basically makes these kinds of accessories.
Yeah.
They make inserts that you put into a box to.
Yeah, that fit in perfectly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a company.
I'm bad at things.
Wow, there we go. So it's a company like
You're
they
so
make
strong.
inserts you put into to replace the insert that comes with the game to sort things better. They also make
trays,
they
things
make a
to
couple
pull out.
replacement boxes.
Things that I need but don't use.
No, but now you can use them. So basically, it allows you to not just have a cardboard box full of baggies.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan, and I really love Gravwell, but we never really play it. And I'm
now you
thinking
have
that maybe if we get a
Now
smaller
you got
package,
a travel version.
Yeah.
Now you got a travel version. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've been looking at these.
Yep. So, two of the RPGs I picked up were Knights Black Agent Solo Ops.
Oh gosh, love Knights Black Age.
I've never
So-
played Knights Black Agent.
Remember we talked? Well,
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Well,
Yeah.
No, I think you were not
No,
there
you were
last-
gone, you
yeah.
were gone.
So we
Oh,
talked.
sorry.
About,
I watched about it.
yeah.
You watched
So
about
this
it.
is the Vampyramid.
Ooh,
You are
the
the-
Vampyramids.
Yep. Yep. You were the spy who found out that vampires are real.
Conspiracy.
And this is the one-on-one RPG version.
Yeah, and cars kill vampires in my universe.
And it says
Yeah.
solo ops. What does that mean?
It means it's one player, one GM.
That's so cool. There's not enough games out there like that.
You
Yeah.
really need to check out Cthulhu Confidential.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's where this came from. But that was neat because it gave you 3 specific characters, cities, scenarios, everything. It was very, very
This
neat.
seems
nice.
to be a little meatier.
yeah, for a solo one.
Yep.
And the cover art and everything. Sorry.
So
I
then,
thought for a solo game they'd make it a smaller book, you know.
No.
It's a hawk.
Oh, that's fancy.
The new Cthulhu 7th edition box set because it comes with the solo adventure to teach you to roll.
oh, you mean the starter set?
Yeah, the starter
Yeah,
set.
I hear that is great.
Yeah, we played it through on the air to let the audience help make this, because it's basically choose your own adventure role-playing game. So you can learn the rules. And we've been railing at companies, please do more of that, all the way back to the Frank Menser 1983 D&D. It is, from our research, the best way to learn the game is solo through it first, then make a one-player, one GM type adventure, so they're not overloaded, and then work their way up.
Well, the new starter set for D&D is also a one-on-one adventure. I hear good stuff about that, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
As layers.
Sure. So then the other thing that I
Derek,
picked
that
up.
book is a carbon fiber cover.
It's so
Yes, I know.
pretty.
and beautiful gold
yeah.
pages.
Oh my gosh. It's,
Yeah, like so they have got a couple versions of
It's
Shadowrun
so
6.
shiny.
There's the normal version. There's the dumb as hell, but I love it, carbon fiber cover.
I just want to thank
They
you
got
so
you.
much for
They
buying
got
this
ya.
for me, Derek. That was I'll
No,
treasure it
no,
always.
he got
Don't worry,
it for me.
I'll keep it
Got
as a
it.
space of honor on my shelf
Look at
for you.
Okay, thanks.
Look at
Or
this,
so
it has
there's
a
that one's like
symbol.
$100, and then there's a $200 version that has a slightly alternate cover and goes in a slipcase of carbon fiber too.
But it also
what?
cooks you dinner, so
So like,
Dang.
and when I went yesterday, I think they were down to like
shiny.
10 copies of the book.
They probably sold out.
No, like they had more to stock, but it was
okay.
like that day they had burned through their whole pile.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I might actually.
it's a beautiful book, and
Yeah,
I haven't even
I
looked
know.
inside yet. So
Gosh darn
can I crack it
I
open
have
a little
a
bit?
budget. I have a budget.
Yeah, I can't buy this.
Dang.
I have a
Gen Con
budget.
is not great for
I
that.
cannot buy this book, but
I think our show is not great for that. Like
Yeah.
literally,
Oh.
I am here to get you guys to spend money,
Oh, yeah.
so I can feel better about the money.
the
I have
nice
spent.
part is you do pay us for that.
Yeah.
do.
Table
But not
takes,
enough to buy this book.
Colon, shut up and take my money.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
no, the
so-
artwork is gorgeous. If you get a chance,
Yeah.
I'm gonna can I?
Sure.
Okay, to get a load of that if you can. It's pretty epic. It looks great. It's maybe the best art we've ever seen in a Shadowrun book. So
So those were some of the like the must buys that I got, and I figured that this would go nice on camera and is very
Yeah.
pretty.
it is so beautiful.
So you bought it for the camera, for
Yep.
the
The
stream.
camera.
No, that
so
was
it's
sweet.
a business expense. You
that
could
was
say.
very, very kind of you, and thoughtful.
So that was my show and tell. Do we want to try to cover headlines that we can?
I mean, we've
yeah,
got
we
a
got
few minutes
few
left. We can
minutes,
cover a
yeah.
couple of headlines.
so I think
suppose.
maybe the first one to cover or the big one to hit is Fantasy Flight's Keynote on
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Had a ton of news in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And B is available on the video on demand on the Gen Con TV channel, so you should go watch
So
it.
after you're done hearing us talk about it, you can go watch them actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then.
You're watching the video first.
Oh.
Yeah, so new stuff. Keyforge,
Yep,
obviously.
a new Keyforge
they
expansion.
announced new houses. I think they announced new houses, new mechanics. I think the houses are one of the biggest things because going into something like if you have any experience with Magic, like Magic has been the same 5 colors forever, and they're kind of locked. They locked themselves into that in the beginning. They can't really change it at this point. So it's cool to see for Keyforge. They're really not holding anything sacred. They have the Saurian Republic, which is dinosaurs, in case you couldn't guess. from the name. It's like Saurus Rex or whatever is their grand leader.
Oh, so they're running out of ideas.
They're and then the Star Alliance, which is space people.
Space
Group
people.
of-
What was Star?
Group of
No-
from all
Not aliens,
preaching
space people.
Space people.
Well, some aliens, some people, all living together in harmony.
Alien is really
Hence-
just a term that is relative to the speaker, but space
Yeah.
people is absolute.
Yeah,
I'm
we
hearing
don't
a lot
like
of
to
blah,
use the
blah,
term
blah right
alien
now.
because we are all one shared happy
See,
people
you have to
together
understand
here.
there's
One
the age of
intelligent.
Aquarius.
And so it's interesting because they're actually rotating.
If you didn't do a deadpan, I wouldn't laugh. I hope you know that, but you do, and it's just so funny to me.
They're actually rotating out 2 of the houses, at least for this set. So Mars
There's-
and Sanctum.
You don't even get to play those anymore?
Yes. So you can always play, like their idea, their concept for the game is you can always play any old set with any new set. You can crack a pack from this first set. You can crack a pack from the third
Or
set.
a deck. I mean,
and
a deck for like you mean because Keyforge is weird.
Yeah.
There's no packs. You're just cracking a deck.
Yeah, pack. Yeah, crack. You open up the deck and you just like play them against each other, and they really want that to continue. It's a very lofty goal with like saying power will never creep in a set, but for now you can very much play these against each other. So you can still play the old houses. What I think from having played Keyforge is I think they came into it, they didn't know exactly what the game was going to be. Not to say these houses won't come back, but but I think they've made learnings from it, and especially with the Mars was always kind of a weird house. Like they weren't sure exactly what it was doing.
I've always thought all of the houses were kind of weird.
Yeah, I think
Keyforge is just weird.
Yeah. Mechanically speaking, from people who are super into it, they're like, oh, I like this one, I like what this is doing, and Mars was kind of off in the corner and never really came together. So I think it's kind of cool. They might reimagine it, or they might just move away
they
from
did
it.
specifically say that those houses would be back.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to reassure fans of their weird houses and
everyone's
the
got
weird
very
niche of the weird
attached.
game of the weird house.
Yeah.
They said, don't worry about it. It'll come back.
Are we talking about Hufflepuff?
No, you're safe. You're fine. Don't worry.
No.
Hufflepuff, where are we going? Hufflepuff.
Where are we going? No.
Yeah, so it's cool to see some new mechanics. We're going to have some new ways to play. One of the most interesting things, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of it, but there's ways to put more amber onto the characters in the game. So it does seem like they're thinking a little bit about speeding things up, like making sure that the game continues to flow instead of getting stuck.
But without breaking that balance so that they were going for at the very beginning. So the
Yeah.
2 houses are gone. Is there a story reason for that, do you know? Just a
I
plague
think
of
they
both their
just-
houses.
Yeah, they're not gone. They went out
Does
into the
Keyforge
stars.
need a story reason?
I think so. I think that just shows good game design.
Well, no,
and
but
they're-
like Keyforge is such a weird, eclectic mix.
Yeah. Well, this is just think about it like Marvel, right? For the
Yeah.
smaller movies, like sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, the world is on fire again. Where's Thor? It's like Thor is on leave for had a knee injury. You know, is on the bench for this time. So they kind of hand wave a little bit to make sure that.
Well, so in addition to more Keyforge,
Yep.
they also talked about more Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
There's Arkham Horror Last Hour, I think is what it's called. I didn't have a chance to watch the whole thing. Did they go into a lot of detail on that? Do you know?
No, I think a lot of this was pretty high level.
I think it's a new game. I think it was, from what I was able to glance at, like a new cooperative game. I think 1 to 4 players, but combat focused. So I kind of wonder if it's gonna be a Kickstarter board game kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where you're exploring a board, fighting monsters, that kind of thing. So they also announced Genesis Vault, I think is what it was.
Genesis
Do you
Vault.
remember what the name was? All right, well, they had a term for it, but it's the DM's Guild model for the Genesis system.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
same. It's the same way that Storyteller's Vault and a lot of programs have been working with Drive-Thru RPG to allow people to publish for a system or a setting through Drive-Thru RPG and then share the revenue.
Yeah.
So they announced for Genesis, and specifically of interest to me, includes the Android setting. So launched yesterday, I think.
The Android setting is the one that used to be something else, right?
They used it for Netrunner.
Netrunner,
thank you.
Netrunner, New Angeles, Android, the board game, mainframe. Like there's a couple different games.
Right, but
in
it
that
was
setting.
from the Netrunner adventure. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why it was familiar.
Yeah, so you're allowed to make role-playing game books, adventures, scenario books, like content for the Android setting. For Terranoth, I think is their fantasy setting.
Okay.
All in the Genesis system. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to go.
And what's that called?
I don't remember. Foundry, Genesis Foundry.
Genesis Foundry. I actually want to write that down.
Yeah, you want to use Notepad?
And
I'll just
also
write
the
that. Okay. I wanna use more paper.
a Marvel
Yep,
LCG.
that's the big new game announcement.
Yeah, so Fantasy Flight, of course, is the only company that can do LCGs because they have a trademark on the living card game.
Yes.
So now they have the new one themed in Marvel. I was talking to Brad Andrus, who's one of the Keyforge developers, works for Fantasy Flight, and the way he described it as a more approachable living card game, which I think is really cool because I definitely want to try
Approachable.
out.
You like approachable.
I do like. I think things that.
It's the reason I never got to get into L5R, though, is a slight lack of approachability with the fan base.
Yeah, well, for L5R,
Slight.
for Arkham Horror, for a lot of these games, there's
With history behind them, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
it's very intense. There's a very high barrier to entry to get into them. So it sounds like this one is going to be a little less complex, a little less going on, but still have that cooperative living card game feel.
So you had a
to it.
long talk with him yesterday morning, I think. Is that right?
No, I just bumped into him in the hotel.
No, okay, well then somebody did, because I'm pretty sure we had a long sequence in the studio with an interview about the Marvel LCG.
Nice, yeah.
So,
nice.
So if people want more, we have the video on demand of the Fantasy Flight Keynote from Wednesday.
Okay.
And then in Gen Con Studio, we should have the video on demand of the particular interview that went over some more details of that.
Cool.
So,
I might actually get that card game.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to get that card
Yeah.
game.
I mean, I understand the property already. The IP is not weird or foreign to me in any way. I don't have to read 27 splat books to get the idea of what the story's about. I don't have to worry about weird, culturally appropriative houses. I can instead play superheroes.
Yeah.
Which is right. That's just my line.
Superheroes.
So we've got a few minutes left. Why don't we run through a bunch of different game announcements?
Okay.
Okay.
My schedule is very tight, so if we
Yeah,
can.
We don't
My
have
booth shift starts in 8 minutes.
we don't have a whole lot
There.
of details on a lot of these.
Yeah.
But we have Quirky Circuits, which somebody added the notes of it's the mind, but you play as a Roomba.
Yes, I played the game last night. I wasn't too sure about it, but it was cute with the minis. I didn't know anything about the gameplay, but it is, you have the cards in your hand of like if you move forward, how many, if you turn, and you can only have a little bit of information, and then you're working cooperatively to do your path. So it does reenact the Roomba thing where you go into a corner and you turn and then you
I think
go back
I
and you're
saw
like,
that game.
"Ugh."
I saw that game.
So it's delicious
Did it look cool?
and frustrating.
Do you get
and
to have a
adorable.
cat right on top of you and have its
Yes.
picture taken?
The cat rides on the Roomba and then messes you up. So you're the Roomba,
Yeah.
and the cat's like messing up your path.
So that's a
the
real
cat's
thing.
in
I didn't
turn.
just. That's a thing.
No,
Yeah.
you can actually
That's
like.
part of the game.
Yeah.
Wow, I was really just being a d-bag right there, and
No, they
It's
thought
a
about it.
game.
That's real.
They matched you and met you.
Yeah.
Simon announced a Cyberpunk card game, Cyberpunk the property.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
doing a card game based on that. A lot of people freaked out that it was not the rebirth of Netrunner, which would have warmed my heart. But this looks like this is a new game.
When you say a lot of people, do you mean you a little bit?
You.
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Just real talk, Derek.
It looks like it's a card game that is not a lot of details, but doesn't. They didn't announce it as an LCG or collectible game or anything like that, so it might just be like a board game kind of experience.
Okay.
So that's interesting. Warhammer Games Workshop announced Aeronautica Imperialis, which is basically like an air combat fighter jet game set in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Okay.
They had Warhammer Underworld's Beastgrave, and you ready?
Oh.
A new Blood Bowl team.
Yeah!
Blood Bowl,
It's
Blood
about
real
time.
Blood Bowl
Yep.
team, not a
yep.
non-infringing
Yep.
Kickstarter.
Oh, so it's an actual.
Yep, a
An
new Blood Bowl
actual
team.
Blood Bowl
So
team.
I'm glad that
Lizard
you
folk.
kept our streak
Lizard folk?
going.
Yep.
I'm happy that we have a streak
We'll see
going.
how long we can maintain mentioning Rifts and Blood
Blood
Bowl.
Bowl.
Have you tried Rifts?
Yes,
you?
actually, I have.
Oh, all right.
Is that enough blood sport for you?
So there's also more Clank.
You made him
Yeah.
say Matei.
There's a Clank Acquisitions Incorporated version coming out.
Yeah.
I think they did an expansion, or was it Bargain Quest? But anyway, like they've done something. But now there's a full acquisition or Ac Inc. Clank coming out. There's also Clank Legacy coming out. There's some details that have been announced for.
Of course there is.
Yep, of course.
Of course there's a legacy version coming out.
Upper Deck just talked about the.
Now that's when you Upper Deck the card company. I was thinking.
No. Upper Deck has a new Encounters for 007.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So
And,
James Bond Encounters.
Yeah, and they have a booth in the exhibition hall, and it's rad because it's got the circular doorway so you can stand in and get your picture taken while you're pretending to hold a gun
Yeah.
and hum the music.
Apparently, there's 2 more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games coming.
Yeah, as well there should be. They're like one of the most popular properties in the world, and now adults are into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because we all found them when we were 5.
Yeah.
Jasco Games is releasing a whole new card game system, apparently, and the property that's supporting it as its first rollout is My Hero Academia. In case anybody's heard about that.
Yeah.
That's an IP.
Yeah, that is.
They have ticketed games available in the exhibit hall or in the event hall.
I've bought over I have $40 worth of generics just in case I want to.
There you go.
Hop in.
Go sign up for the tournament.
Ooh,
Let us know how it goes.
What is it?
There's a bunch of them running all weekend.
Okay, so yes,
So
Yes, I will do that.
Yep.
Yes.
There's also
weeb senses are
WizKids.
tingling.
This might be really exciting for you.
It is. I read it ahead of time. I don't know what's up.
WizKids is releasing unpainted Transformers minis.
Oh,
Yeah.
roll
out.
Gosh, I have a budget.
No, I don't know if they're out yet. They've just
Okay.
announced
They
they're
are
doing it.
releasing them. They haven't released them. You
'Cause-
can't buy it right now.
No, okay. all
You
right.
can only buy the stuff you see.
A couple
but
more
there's-
things. Fog of Love.
Keep focus.
Fog of Love is leaving Walmart.
Yeah, it's going to be
exclusivity.
non-exclusive now. We can we can buy it in real places.
New places.
Not that Walmart
You
isn't a
played
real
that game?
place. It exists.
No,
No.
not yet.
Has anybody played Fog of Love?
No.
No.
Okay.
You can only
know
buy
what?
it at Walmart.
I almost feel like we should actually play it on the stream
I would love that,
it is
yes.
a really weird
TableTakes
game.
is now just us playing games.
And finally, this is a topic I'm pretty sure that we're going to have to dig into in extreme detail.
Oh.
Okay.
But apparently, WotC has been doing really big changes to how magic is judged.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and like the details are coming out very slowly and very weirdly.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure we dig into that then.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's apparently a lot of changes coming to that.
Uh-oh.
We'll investigate that.
Yeah, if you want to know what
Yeah.
those are, you keep tuned to TableTakes every week, and we will fill
At
you in.
What
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
It's going to be at 11?
11 a.m.
11
Pacific.
11 a.m. Pacific
Pacific.
Standard
Yep.
Time.
On what day?
Friday.
On what channel?
I feel like I'm being
Gen Con
quizzed.
Gen Con TV.
Gen
Yay!
Con TV.
You get
So
a gold
check us
star.
out.
Yes,
Guys,
star.
I think that we are out of time.
Yeah,
We
yes,
are.
that
We
is
got
our
another
time.
stream group coming in, and we want to make sure that they have plenty of time to set up.
Yep.
So that is it for TableTakes for this Friday, live from Gen Con. We are so happy to be here. If you see us at the con, we will probably be around and really busy.
Yeah.
I got to go get to the booth, so I'll be
Yeah.
there for the next 2 hours. If you want to come by, say hi. Come over at booth 100. That's
Yeah.
where I'm going to be.
All right.
Yeah, you should definitely come say
I
hi.
am
You have to
definitely
see
going.
our
I'm
booth.
going to see, yeah.
So she'll be on the stream later.
Yes.
You'll be in the booth, and then you'll be on the Gen Con main stage
I'll be on
stream.
the Gen stage.
Yep.
You are going to be in the studio at some point.
Yep. I'll be in studio.
And I will be running around trying to keep things from lighting on fire.
Right.
Great.
Or putting them out if they do catch
Yeah.
on fire.
So
One
what
of
you're
those
saying
two.
is that when I'm on, I should just light all the fires and just.
There.
Remember that while you're on the stream, I can see where you are, and I know how to find you.
Ah.
Nice guy.
So yeah, that's it for TableTakes. I'd like to thank our guests, Hawk, Chris, and Lindsay for coming on and showing
Yep.
us what they're all about today. We will see you next week, and have a great con.
Thank you.
See ya.